Yeah, it's wild, dude. It's actually wild. Like the demand for M80 before
Yeah,
I haven't actually looked after the Christmas gift, but like it's just like it was off the charts. It's off the charts. It's one of the best demos right now.
I find it like very ironic how a few wipes ago everyone was complaining about slicks in M61, and the price was literally like 3,000 rubles around, and now everyone like it's basically just slid down the slider. Now it's M80 is 3,000 around. Everyone's complaining about class 4 and 5 armor. Welcome to ScavTalk, an Escape from Tarkov Podcast with continued focus on development of the game, patch note analysis, theory crafting, and general gameplay discussions. My name is Church. I'm one of your hosts. I am a video editor for a Tarkov content creator named Daring Marine.
And I am GigaBeef, a Tarkov YouTuber, helping you guys get better at the game. And welcome to, I guess, yeah, this is going to be the final episode of ScavTalk for 2021, wrapping off an entire year. Did we start this year? Was it the beginning of this year that we started, or was it last year? Have we done like a full year? I can't even remember now. Like the time's
Yeah, I
gone.
want to say we started in like either October, November,
Yeah,
back
I don't
when
even
we.
remember now. Anyway, we're closing off the year 2021. It's been a big one, but
Yeah.
I mean, what have you been up to this week, Church? Have you been playing much? Have you been following along with stuff? You've been super busy doing work for Mr. Airing. How's it been going? I mean, start the wipes rough for editors, I'm sure.
I've been playing a little bit. I got all my tasks. I got like a big chunk of tasks on Shoreline, so I'm doing that now.
hmm
And yeah, I've been playing a little bit. I think I'm 22 or 23. I think I'm 22, and yeah, just got a bunch of Shoreline tasks, man. I try to just like take my time, you know, wait till like the last minute to go plant that SV98 and that multi tool for peacekeepers. I'm like, God, I do not want to get sniped doing that. I did have a rough day, man. I can't remember what I was doing, some task, but I was just getting my butt absolutely handed to me. And Cycle's just like, man, just one more raid, one more win. I just need a dub, and then it's another L. It's like, oh man, the L gang's winning today. So
That's tough. Although I am envious of you doing peacekeeper tasks. I don't have the second flash drive. So,
bummer.
the beginning of this wipe has been crunch time for many an item, gas analyzers for most people.
Yeah.
Did finally get mine, and yeah, I'm not really a gas analyzer replace kind of person. Like it seems like I was talking about this in my Discord, and that if you just bum rush the tech stores all the time in Interchange, and that's the way that you play the game generally, then like that's fine. But I hate the map, I hate the tech stores, I hate everything about it, and so I just don't go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I basically found I had like one of my scav. I then crafted the second one fully ready and expecting to craft the third one because I was like, I'm just gonna do. I've got enough other stuff to do. Like I'm much more time limited than I am anything else. So I'd rather do other things. If I can do the gas analyzer craft in tandem with doing completely unrelated tasks, then like I'll
hmm
just do that instead. And then yeah, incidentally like found the third one while the second one was crafting on reserve, like in a random room, near like
Oh,
the
okay.
button, the radar button room. I think it was like it's like the vehicle warehouse or something. It's like near the radar button, kind of facing the cliffs.
Yeah.
It was like in there, just like laying down, and I was
Huh.
trying to do Ragman's like plant the things on the fuel tanks, which was just like cursed for me and took me like 4 raids to complete for some reason.
Yeah.
Um, Honestly, it's just like reserve is just I just find like at the minute reserve is just a complete mess. It's just such a cluster. It's just insane. But yeah, I found it there. So did finally manage to get that done, which is good. But like the flash drives, like I found one, I was hitting safes, and I kind of stalled my progress a little bit, just like trying to do it because I was like, safes is the best way.
hmm
And yeah, I just hit safes in seconds in two-story dorms
Yeah.
again and 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 again, and I just haven't found any at all, which is really
It
quite
sucks.
irritating.
Yeah. I've
So
been
I'm
there.
still locked for Peacekeeper. I mean, a previous wipe, it wasn't the last one, but a previous wipe, I did just craft them all. I didn't find a single one. I made them all in the hideout. I have done that before, so it may it feels like we might be getting there again at some point. So I don't know, we'll see. But other than that, though, like it's been good actually. It's been good. I'm not quite. I'm like so close to level 20. I'm like really, really close. Level 19, and yeah, things been going good. I mean, there's actually like a ton of different things to go into, but I think I'll leave them just for like the main bulk of our chat. But yeah, just like moving along with quests and all that stuff, and just trying to like get decent progression and do the dailies where they make sense. Really, it's just the sensible stuff and building up money and like buying some GPUs. I think that's really sort of summing it up. I've not gone like as mental because everyone kind of knows the game now, and so they're like, they were like 300 right at the start when they started looking, and they're like
Pretty good
400
price.
now. I'm like, yeah, they're pretty punchy, but it's been quite a news-packed week actually, even though it's been
Yeah.
quite scattered. I think it's also partly because when we did our last podcast, it was like Friday, and then now it's
Hmm.
Sunday, so we've had like an extra 2 days of like stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I think yeah, because like I've sort of like wrote down some few different little bits and pieces of notes and here and there on like on what's actually happened. But I mean, yeah, I don't know where you want to dive in exactly, but there's like a few like random things like they've removed Punisher Part 6 Factory, so you can't just like semi cheese that now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you used to do it there? I used to do it there.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started playing, I think I was like too scared to do it. Not, I mean, I played Factory. That was one of the first maps I learned, but I was just like, God, these SVDs are, pretty
Hmm.
expensive, and it's like, you don't really want to have to keep buying them, and then the 20 rounders are expensive. Um, but after that first wipe, yeah, it was just like spam Factory, dude. It's like the fastest way to do it. I mean, it
Yeah.
is. And you can burn a lot of rubles really quickly, but as far as you're just guaranteed to run into players instantly, so
Hmm.
you just maximize your time. But I mean, it's whatever. I mean, I understand why they're doing it. I mean, it now I'll probably go like customs if you want to do it the fastest, maybe, or yeah, I guess customs probably be the way to go.
Yeah, I was
But
thinking
it's
maybe
nice.
reserve if you wanted to go as well, like if you want to go in tunnels or something, but it's kind of hard to fight
Yeah,
there. So like customs might be better just as like a well-rounded place.
yeah. I mean, I like it because you will see more variety. Like I heard a SVD on Shoreline unsuppressed.
Mm.
I was like, oh my, I would instantly thought, dude, that guy's doing Punisher. Maybe it was a sniper scav, but it was or the new Christmas thing, which we'll talk about in a bit. But I did want to comment on. Well, what did you have any thoughts about that change?
Yeah, I mean, I actually feel very similarly to you. I think like newer players, they tend to do it on the bigger, longer range maps, and you think, oh,
Hmm.
SVD, it's for sniping, that kind of thing. And then
Yeah,
you eventually are just like, I will just meat grinder myself until the quest is complete. And it works. I don't know, the SVD works quite well, actually. It's surprising. If you just forget that you have an SVD and you just take like either, to be honest, either PS or SMB, it doesn't really matter. You take
yeah,
either, and you just pretend that you've got an MP153 with AP20
yeah,
slugs. You just
yeah,
pretend instead, and just put a laser on it and just like bang people. It just
yeah,
seems to work like very similarly, actually. So that was kind of, I don't know, that's kind of my experience. But like, I sort of see what they were trying to do with that,
yeah,
stop people from just like smashing through the task. But at the same time, it's like, well, there's lots of other tasks like that. I don't know why they picked on the Punisher. Maybe they wanted, because it is such a landmark task in some ways. It's kind of
hmm,
the gateway to the case. A lot of people use that as their pathway through to progression. Normally, you do it, go and do that first, and then you do the other stuff because then you've got Epsilon if you're a standard account. So
yeah,
making that a bit more tricky. Yeah, I can see it, but like I don't know, it takes take experience and also guts and also like lack of gear fear to go to factory and stuff. So I think it's like I was kind of okay with the way it ran. So
JMR brought up a good point, and I had the same thought. Is he said that surprised they're not removed stir up from factory, which is kind of like, I mean, the same logic applies. Everyone goes to factory to do the pistol quest, right? I mean, literally everyone.
yeah.
Like, if yeah, I don't know. It is kind of
That's true.
odd.
That would make that quest so much more toxic, though. At least the SVD is a good gun. This
Yeah,
is like
yeah,
trying to kill people with, but I guess it's kills as well. It's not headshots or anything. So it
yeah,
just feels like headshots because otherwise you don't kill anyone with the pistols. But I mean, if they removed stir up from factory, then I would just run dorms non-stop with the Glock 18C with the drum. That's
Yeah,
probably what I would do. Just run around with it, just with the stock on. Like it's some of the funniest gameplay that I've had when I did the Glock 18C stuff. I like after doing the video like ages ago, I never revisited it, but my God, did I have fun using that weapon. Oh my goodness. If you wanted to do like super means, just go without the stock. Like it's genuinely hilarious. If you don't control the recoil, you actually hit the ceiling in the shooting range. It's completely mental. Like if you're stood next to the like I don't know the counter bit where all the ammo is and
hmm
stuff, and there's like the first like structural strut, like you hit that with the pistol. Like it's insane. It's actually insane. The recoil's like 450 or something at like 1200 RPMs. It just goes like the first burst just goes like right up into the ceiling. Oh God, it's nuts. But that's probably what I do.
there is some odd things with recoil. Like I noticed the APS, the recoil on it. Let's say it's like 250
Mhm.
vertical. If you like have another pistol that has that same recoil, like it doesn't really match up. Like there's I feel like there's some hidden added recoil on APS. I wonder if the same is true for the Glock 18C. But
I think it's just
anyways,
because like the semi nature, right? It's like you can't just the full auto just really I don't know. Maybe it's a different mechanic, like semi versus full. I'm not sure. You
yeah, I don't
kick in
know.
the full auto thing. Um,
hmm
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. No, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, they could change that one. It'd be so much more painful if they did, but
Yeah,
I mean, they could. You know, that's the way, right? Make the game harder, and that's kind of what 12-12 is about. And I mean, you know, I'm loving what they're doing so far. So yeah, make some stuff harder, especially seeing as it doesn't go anywhere. As he's saying, it's like it's not a follow up to anything, so it doesn't block it. So it's kind of more like an achievement quest than anything else, which is again that's probably makes it more appealing to do. Whereas like Punisher Line is like it's important, you know, it's important to get the standard count guys their epsilon.
yeah.
It's an important quest line. Um,
Which I wish they would change the barter for the beta container because no
uh,
one ever. Like God, dude, what that there was something that they did recently, and I was like, they changed the barter or something, made it a little bit easier. I can't remember, but I was like, man, I really wish they did it with the beta because it's just like screw the beta is like everyone's motto ever.
yeah, like
Uh,
no one uses that case unless you accidentally forget that the epsilon is or don't realize the epsilon exists and you're new or something and you're like trying not to look up too much stuff. It's the only reason why you'd ever get it, I think.
hmm, yeah, but you were talking about gas analyzers and crafting them, and I wanted to kind of talk about how at the start of the wipe, it was like drills, gas analyzers, hunting matches, the new medical tools
Mm,
item. There's like a bunch of stuff that was just like extremely rare. And then a couple days later, stuff was like rolling in. They were like, sort of behind the scenes, like adjusting spawns and stuff. And now
yeah.
it seems like everything's kind of back to normal. I don't think gas analyzers are spawning in filing cabinets or jackets. I think I might be
I
wrong
think they're
about
still
that.
not. I think you're right.
And same for drills. Um, they're not spawning in filing cabinets or jackets, I think. And matches, I think I found a match in a toolbox, or was it the hunting matches? Was it a jacket? I don't know, but I've seen med tools and loose loot now
Mm,
too, so everything's kind of like being normalized. Like at first, I was thinking that they were doing this intentionally to sort of like really slow down progression.
yeah.
But it seems like maybe it's just been a slight tweak to
Mhm.
progression, which is pretty interesting. I have seen like, yeah, like you're saying, gas analyzers on interchange. It's just like they're uh, constantly spawning there. But yeah, it's been an
Yeah.
interesting change up, and now it's kind of like normalized, which I'm glad they added the gas analyzer craft because, as you said, if you're doing flash drives and you're basically playing an RNG game, if you're just get really bad RNG, it's just like it's such a bad feeling to be quest. You're literally quest locked behind like therapist gas analyzers. You can't do any more therapist quests until you get those logs. So if you just have like horrible RNG, man, it is not a fun feeling.
Yeah, and there's like actually quite a few people who are on Twitter and know what they're doing and are content creators who haven't got them. You know,
Yeah.
it's like obviously not people who are playing like full time because like if you're playing like if you're like really hard grinding, you'll just
hmm
stumble into them. But people who are just playing like, an ordinary amount, but also people who are experienced players, there's like actually a decent enough number of people who just haven't found them, in my experience, which kind of shows that yeah, it was a little low, in terms of the numbers, and yeah, those old guaranteed kind of spawns where there was kind of filing cabinets everywhere, and people used to get them from that.
Yeah.
They just like weren't getting them. They're like kind of two specific places. You had to go to, gas station in customs, or some of the hot rooms. You couldn't just like, because cabinets can be in lots of low tier areas. It is interesting. Like I kind of ignored the hunting matches thing completely, and then like the market stabilized, and I just bought them because I was sort of
Same.
behind the curve anyway, and didn't need them straight away.
Yeah.
So it was not really that big a deal. But yeah, like the flash drive thing is still screwing me over, and um, I stopped running those safes because I got bored and wanted to do some other stuff. And I was like, look, maybe I'll just find one on a scav, and then the whole thing will be rendered pointless anyway. So I'll just go and do some other stuff. So I've just been doing other quests and forgetting about it because it's like it's a real shame, in some ways, because I wanted to unlock Peacekeeper, but at the same time I was like, well, the changes that they've made to the flea market kind of make it less good, and actually maybe I want to do something different this wipe, because like I do objectively still think that probably the most optimal path through progression is whatever your starting loadout is. You get to the flea market, you get Peacekeeper as soon as you can. You get through to, I can't remember exactly which quest it is. You unlock 56A1, then you use the MDR. You use that until you get to the Peacekeeper 3. You then use the P90 with SS190 and then after that it's kind of like whatever you want to do. But I think like the MDR with 56A1 is like probably, I don't know, it's one of the like most cost-effective routes in my opinion. And they removed the MDR from the flea. Apparently it's returned. Apparently the
Really?
556 MDR is returned as of today. I'm getting a lot of comments today on my
Oh, I want
YouTube.
to check it now.
And
Dang
this
it.
is, yeah, the 26th of December. Today, actually, you know what? I have Tarkov open, so I can tell you. So let's go and have a look, because I haven't actually checked myself yet. But lots of people were telling me that it is back open, which is, it's a good and a bad thing. Yes, okay, they're 65k. So you can buy them now on the flea again. So they've opened back the 556
Huh.
MDR, which I think is probably a good change because it's not an insane gun at all. And if the Scar L is on there, then the MDR 556 may as well be on there. Like I don't really see the problem
Well,
with that. Like it's the 762 MDR that's like the meta crazy one. But in some ways, I was just like, I was kind of enjoying the fact that it wasn't there anymore, because then I was just like, oh, my meta pathway for myself has kind of been removed. Now I'm gonna have to do something new, and now I'm just like, I can feel the pull of the MDR again for a second wipe, and I'm like, do I want to do exactly the same path progression like this time as I did last time? Like, oh, I'm just not sure. So maybe I'll just do something else in spite of the fact that it's back. I don't know.
yeah. So when I looked at the Scar L, like stat wise and like everything you could do and the cost, um, just like dude, the 556 MDR is just a bit. It's just like flat out better. I think like just
Yes.
in every way possible. So I was kind of disappointed, and then when they removed the MDR, I was like, oh, okay, now this makes a little more sense. Now like the MDR is kind of like the upgrade, so to speak, to the Scar L. So it's like you go M4, you go Scar L, and then you go, 556 MDR, and then late game you go heavily modded M4. It kind of tiered up that way in my mind, anyways. But now it's kind of now that it's back, it's interesting. I wonder why. Yeah,
Yeah, I sort of see what you mean. I think it's just because of that kind of like, oh, it's not that much more powerful. But like, yeah, the Scar L kind of like, I don't know, fits. It's got a weird placing, I think, because
absolutely.
I think if you add like a bunch of mods, I think it does scale better than the MDR with all the mods because of the stock thing that we talked about previously.
Right,
But the
right.
base stats of the MDR are really good. So for a budget weapon, the MDR just like it's just good anyway. It's just good straight off the bat. So it's fine.
Now,
And I think the Scarel's got like I think it's just got too much recoil to be like amazing. And you may as well kind of use some other stuff. And the MDR, you may as well just use that instead, right? Um, in my opinion. And then like the M4 clearly is going to be the best because you can't change the stock really on the Scar.
we'll see. The caveat now is that the Scar L is cheaper on the flea market than what it was when it first came out. So right now it's like, let's just do 1 month average. So yeah, it's like when it first came out, it was like averaging around 70K. And then now it's dropping to like 60, 58K on average, sometimes dipping
Hmm.
low to like 54,000, which is a way more attractive offer than, because the MDR was cheaper than the Scar L day one. But yeah, to your point, maybe Yeah, because the an M4, you have to like, if you want the best stats, you gotta like swap out the tube, swap out the barrel, swap out the forward grip. The scar, you just you basically just change the muzzle and you're good to go. I mean, it's kind of similar to MDR in that way, but then again, the MDR is like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a weird gun, and I agree that the RL stats aren't necessarily amazing once you mod it out. Definitely,
Yeah, it's just the thing of like if you're going to start modding, then you may as well use an. I don't know. That's the thing that I find. It's like if you're going to mod, you may as well use an M4, just
right,
because you have
right.
like more choice and you tend to have kind of like you end up with like better stats most of the time. But
Yep.
like you look at the base weapon for the two, and yeah, it's like the Scar L is like 47 ergo and 85 recoil, and the MDR is 75 ergo and 71 recoil, and they're both about 60k.
Yeah.
And it's just like if you, I think the maybe the well, I was going to say the mitigating factor is that if you put a suppressor on the Scar, it'll do a lot
It's a
more than it
little
does
bit better.
on the MDR. But the problem
Right.
is, it probably just brings them in line rather
Yeah,
than
yeah.
it's like it's so significantly better. It's a good like 10,
Right.
15 recoil points. It's like I don't know, makes a big difference. I don't know. Anyway, so like with that back, I'm deciding on like exactly what I'm going to do, like whether I'm
Mm.
going to go down that route again because I do think it's good. I really do think it's good.
Yeah,
Like once
for
you buy
sure.
56A1, because I've done the comparison video in the past about like 545 versus 556, and like BT and 56A1 both have the same pen,
Mhm.
but 56A1 is just like by all accounts way better, and it's
Mhm.
cheaper. Because when you can buy it from Peacekeeper, it's cheaper than BT. It has more damage than BT. It has much like one of the things about 556 I think is highly underrated is the fact that it has an enormous frag chance. It has a huge frag chance. It's actually
Mm.
one of the highest frag chances across all of the ammos in the ballistics chart. So if you go through, I mean, like almost all of the like good
Right.
556
Right.
ammo, which is like 855 and up, is like 40%, 33%. Like, yeah, 56A1 is 33%. Even 55A1 is like 34% chance to frag, which is huge. That's actually, if you're not killing somebody in 2 shots to the chest, which you're not always, like 2 or 3 shots to the chest, then yeah, when you have like one of those crazy spray battles where two people just like black out everything on each other, you're gonna win with 556 just because you just deal like just that much more flesh damage over
Yeah.
the period. It's like 1 in every 3 bullets will frag and do 50% damage. That's actually huge. It's actually huge. It makes a material difference to DPS. And yeah, I just think it's better. I just think it's better. It always has been. It always has been better. And yeah, I just think it's good. But yeah, I'm trying to figure something else out. Like maybe I'll stick to like 762 this patch. I don't know yet. I'm still deciding. Like I've been using PS quite a bit, and I've been using some AKs. I've been
Mhm.
doing the early stages of Punisher,
Is
and
that 556 PS? Oh, that's gotta be the AKM
oh, I've been
PS, right?
using 762 PS, yeah,
Gotcha.
and I've been using a fairly basic AK
Mhm.
with a big 75 round drum, which sounds counterintuitive given all the weapons malfunctions, but no one's really using them. And as a solo player with Inertia, I feel like the drum has actually saved me a lot more than it would have otherwise, because usually you can like escape and run away, but I find myself getting much like in situations where I'm like pinned more often and like the
Longer
stamina and
fights.
yeah, stamina, like longer fights and bushes and like it's hard to move and like it's hard to get around. And I think it's also having low endurance and stuff as well. I'm just like,
Mhm.
I just want to just keep slugging, and I just put like a laser
Yeah.
on and someone surprises me and they run out of bullets and I'm just like, with the slow fire rate as well, I'm just like going and going and going and going and going. And I killed some dude the other day with it. It was insane. But it's quite fun to run like a big machine gun style AK.
Mhm.
It's actually pretty hilarious. I've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying it.
I haven't experimented as recently, but when I was first, last week playing, I noticed I was using the PP19 and I just felt like having the blue laser on, just like the recoil felt so much better than
Mm.
ADSing. And I didn't know if maybe you have similar opinions, but I do feel like since they made the recoil changes, it almost feels like the lasers part of it is like unaffected.
Oh, I don't know. I'm actually not sure. I think I remember you saying this previously, but I haven't actually gone away and tested it or anything. I
Hmm.
you you can imagine though. in my head, and this is completely untested and pure speculation,
Yeah.
but just given that you've said that, I can imagine that because the recoil is increased across the board, and this is my opinion, right? I don't think they've changed the recoil system really at all. All they've done is just tuned up the existing system, is my sort of feeling about what's happened exactly. The laser pointer was always some kind of buff towards your point fire, right? And because the recoil is now bigger, if that buff is the same, the actual absolute amount of recoil that it removes is larger. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Because the recoil number is just a bigger number. And so the buff is a bigger buff because the percentage is the same.
Right.
So it could have more of an impact than it used to. I think that's definitely possible. I actually should go and test that. I should go and test that and see, because that could be interesting. But yeah, I've been using one and it's been helping. Is my anecdote. I haven't noticed it quite as specifically as you have, but I've made, I think because of the changes to recoil, I found the optics that I normally use less useful, because I tend to use some of the I've used some of the cheaper scopes or optics earlier in the wipe, just because I'm a Scrooge, and like as soon as you fire with any sort of recoil on any kind of weapon, like you just lose sight picture and it's awful and you just can't shoot. So I'm like, okay, fine, well I'm going to use the laser more and I do more point firing instead, and it's been working out pretty nicely, and I've been winning some fights at close range when really I shouldn't. And I've actually been doing a lot of, because like some of the longer range optics are still kind of expensive when you're like running the early wipe economy, and I've been doing a lot of like Prism 3.5 with a laser, because that's like 20k from Skiv. It's actually quite cost effective for what it gives you, but it doesn't give you like the double, like a close and long like the Alcan does, or the Valde or any of those kind of things. But I'm just like, well, I don't really like the short range at the moment anyway, because I'm running some kind of crappy 7.62 AK because I'm doing Punisher. So I'll just run a laser, and it's been working well with the drum, with the drum. So accuracy by volume.
Yeah, because I feel like with the hip fire changes, or not changes, but with the recoil changes, and then we're kind of like theory crafting this possible, hip fire meta, and then you got to take into account inertia. It just kind of feels like, because when you ADS, you get a move speed debuff more than what I remember the previous patch, like pre inertia. I might just be remembering wrong, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because you don't AD strafe, but you just move faster, strafing one direction, just holding down mouse one, like like you're saying. So I don't know. Yeah, I
feel
kind of want to test
like
it.
you're right about the move speed change as well. I don't know what it is about it, but it feels more punitive. Maybe it's the same, but maybe it's the speed at which you change up and down speeds from full speed strafe to normal to like, slower speed ADS strafe. Maybe it's something to do with that. Maybe it is just inertia itself. Maybe the speeds are the same. I'm not sure, but something feels different. I totally agree.
Could be strength reset too, is another thing.
Could be, yeah, could be that. There's so many factors. It's so hard to know.
For sure.
The only other thing that I've noticed, I've been testing a little bit further. I think we talked about this last time about like if you strafe and let go and then strafe the other way, then it's like a lot quicker, and you come to a stop and then move the other side. That definitely works, and I've been using that a little bit to like speed up your strafing, because it is a lot slower if you hold and hold. Like you then get the full swing of like momentum change, whereas like if you come to a stop, that's quicker, and then you move the sideways again. It's kind of like it slightly shortcuts the inertia a little bit, and it's that definitely works. Oh gosh, what else was I going to say about that? Oh yes, the other thing that I've noticed that was working much better this patch than it ever has before. I don't know whether you have a button set, because I don't really like using the scroll wheel for my character speed. I don't mind using it for the height, but I don't like using it for character speed because I find it way too slow. I wish my mouse was much more sensitive, but if I turn the sensitivity up, it turns my sensitivity up like in everything, including like my day-to-day life, which I just find really annoying. Like, I'm like the top of the web page and then I'm literally at the bottom with like one click, which is just like, no, I just can't deal with it. So I have a button kind of like the way you used to in like Counter-Strike, where it's actually not hold though. I put it on toggle, where, so you press it and you're at min speed, and you press it again and you're at max speed. So I have that set, and I don't really use the scroll wheel for it. That actually works now. That has never worked properly for me. It has always been buggy. Sometimes it doesn't work. If I'm pressing other buttons or whatever, and it's not a keyboard thing because I've tested it, sometimes the game just doesn't register it, or it never used to. But with the inertia changes, it now functions every time flawlessly. And it also seems like inertia just doesn't affect it at all. So you like stop almost instantly, but it's because you're not going from a sprint, right? You don't go from like sprint to stationary slow crawling, but it's like it's very sharp, the difference between full walk and then like, oh, suddenly instantly stealth walking. Like it's very, very, very sharp, and then going back to like suddenly walking again. And so that button's actually been really quite useful. And it works really well. It never, honestly, like the entire time I played EFT, that button has been atrocious and has never worked properly. And this
Yeah.
wipe and this patch, it now works perfectly. It works perfectly. It works the way I thought it would the whole time. I've kind of got used to it. And then when it started working, I was like, oh, something feels really good here. And I was like, oh yeah, because this thing's just been like scuffed the whole time. I've always used it because it's kind of still kind of useful, even though it's been a bit broken for me.
So are you talking about caps lock, the default key to like instantly drop to 0 and instantly go to
I
100?
think so. I've rebanned it, but yeah, yeah, that one.
Okay. There's some. So let me jump on. You're talking about the scroll wheel. I just want to say it's not your fault. It's Tarkov's fault. For
Okay.
whatever reason, if you scroll too fast, it's it won't register the clicks. It
Mm.
registers like every fourth click it registers. So there's like a max if you want to get the most speed to like adjust, up and down through scroll wheel. You have to turn it at a certain rate. I actually hate that so much. It's really annoying. And what were you gonna
It's
say?
probably to counter people putting fire on the middle mouse. Let's be honest. That's probably what
It
it's
could
for
be.
originally, and it has like been applied to everything. I mean, yeah, and then we were just talking about like the speed change, the caps lock speed change thing.
Yeah, I've always had issue with that, and I've like kind of like gotten used to it. But now for me, this patch, it's like if you if you're hit the button to go slow, then you're walking slow, and then you sprint, and typically that broke the chain. The memory got set to, oh, this toggle is now, um it was slow, now it's at maximum movement speed, and then you
Hmm.
hit the toggle again, nothing happens because it toggles back to the other one, which was at maximum movement speed. So it like broke the cycle and like reset it.
Oh,
So
I
you had to
see.
like do it again, and then it would work. Like you had to like press it 3 times to like reset it if you
Yeah.
sprinted out of going slow. But now for this wipe, for me, you're walking, you sprint. When you let go of sprint, you instantly go back to walking. And so my mind is programmed that it broke it. So I have to like I don't know. It's yeah, God.
You have to like unlearn the bad behavior that it's taught you to do because
Yes.
now it doesn't work like that anymore. It's like something else.
Yes. It's like,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
all the years of, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, talking about mechanics, I mean, one of the other interesting things that got changed was free look around scopes got banned. So you can now no longer, for anybody who didn't do this, and I actually am not a scope free looker. I've never done it because I don't really like it. I never got to grips with the muscle memory of doing it,
Mhm.
and I just didn't think it was like, I think it's useful, but I don't think it was necessarily. I think it's also the way that my keys are bound. Like because of the way that my free look is bound, I actually should change it. Honestly, it gets stuck when I do other stuff. So that just really put me off. But anyway, so now that that's gone, that's like the major advantage for it. But yeah, so previously, if you were scoped in on a weapon, you could then free look, and what people used to do was look down with their gun, then they'd scope in, and then they'd free look up vertically. So then the weapon would be just missing out of their view, and you'd just have like completely unencumbered free space in front of you at the zoom level of the scope. So you could like really easily see people. It's like using a pair of binoculars or something, and it was like incredibly strong with like a voodoo or something. It was like really, really powerful. So they banned that, and they banned that in its entirety, which I think is like maybe they're going to roll it back a little. I think it's a little heavy-handed because to not be able to even look slightly outside of
Right.
the scope, I think is a bit much. Like to take the scope completely off the screen, I think is probably too far. But like being able to free look whilst the circle of the scope is still within the monitor, I think would probably be okay. That would be my preferred in my opinion. And just outside of that, I've always been of the opinion that the free look in Tarkov should be wider. In something like DayZ, it's like really quite wide. You can turn your head properly and you can see your professional vision. In Tarkov, it's really tight. Like the free look is really, really narrow. And I just always think that that's been way too low. But that's gone now. There's tons of people who are really salty about it because they used to love doing the free look scope thing. I don't know. Are you a prolific scope free looker or
Let's see, when I first heard about the change, I was like, okay, I can kind of see why. Like maybe it's not the most realistic thing, but at the same time, the zooming in, looking down, getting extra, field, lowering your field of view, getting that extra zoom isn't also realistic. So it kind of made sense. But then I realized I read someone's thread, thread, and then they were like, "God, this change sucks so much because now how am I gonna be able to pick out directional audio?" And I was like, "Oh my god, I just realized I do this all the time." You're like ADS somewhere and you hear a noise, so you free look around to get the noise to come into us
mm,
like the right speaker only, so like, okay, it's definitely in the right side.
yeah.
And now I'm really sad because it's like, fuck, you now you have to un-ADS, which makes noise, okay? Then you can free look, but then at that point, why not just turn like, I don't know, it's it's kind of annoying thing. So
Yeah, I think that's unfortunate, but I think it's like it's a solution to another problem that shouldn't exist but does. Do you know what I mean? Like I actually don't find myself. Maybe I'm being unfair on here on this because I don't find myself really ever in a situation where like I need to use the free look whilst ADS to hear sounds. Like maybe I just don't ADS enough. Maybe that's just me,
mhm,
but I find I'm almost always un-ADS'd when I'm like in that like listening mode. It's
mhm.
almost never when I'm ADS'd in. I don't know. And you can still turn your whole character in theory if you're ADS to like listen, I guess. But then you like
Yeah,
make
it's
the
more
scraping
like
sound, and you got to combine it then with like the slow movement and the turning. You turn the slow movement, and then you're like shaking. Then you're doing some kind of snake along the floor with your feet just so you can like listen to some sound. Sounds kind of weird. It's like problems and issues and bugs all layered on top of each other with a player-driven solution that requires you to do some convoluted twister to actually try and figure your way through the
well,
game.
it was more
That
like you
doesn't
were
sound like Tarkov at
holding
all.
like you're just being sneaky or you're holding an angle and you
Mm,
hear something and it's like, well, I don't wanna just, like, give away my position and or just, why let me just stop holding this angle, turn, and check where the sound's coming from instead of just, like, while holding the angle, free look to see where the sound's coming from. I say "see," but you know what I mean. I don't know. It was one of those things that, like, I learned from Veritas when I first started playing Tarkov. He was like, "Yeah, this is how I locate sound," and then it's like, "Oh, well, this actually is actually really useful." And I just, like, forgot about it when I read the
mm.
patch. I was just, like, completely like, "Oh, this is kind of a weird change, but, whatever." But now I'm just like, "Oh, no, dude. I'm gonna, like, I just feel like I'm gonna die so much because I can't free look anymore." But it's probably my own fault. Who knows?
Yeah, and I'm like, I feel like I'm a net beneficiary of this change because I didn't do it, and everyone else is
Mhm.
punished, and I'm just like sailing through freely, just like the glorious no free looking master race, just like nope, never did that, so it's not a problem. So sit here smugly. So what other stuff got fixed? So daily quest got fixed. That was broken. Daily quests are now fixed. That was quite a while ago now, but yeah, it's a useful thing that if people were avoiding doing daily quests, that now works, which is good. Um, what is your thoughts on the thick case being banned for sale?
I like it. Just straight up, I like it. I know, like I mean, it's, like, one of those things where, like, I liked it because having it allowed because it's 16 million rubles. Like, that quest is effectively 16 million rubles. Like, let's be honest, dude. Like,
Mm.
if you wanna use it for the space, you can use it for the space, but it's basically 16 million rubles. But I also don't like it because it's 16 million rubles. It's like it doesn't really make sense. And then I've always wondered, like, who buys these thick cases? Maybe it's, like, Giga Chad, Sweat Lords, but I've also, like, had my suspicion that it's, some the less than desirable people the
Mm,
RGB gamers. I've always thought perhaps they're buying it, to manage their stash and whatnot, but I don't know. That's totally conjecture, speculation.
yeah.
So I'm all for it. I mean, they did this one patch ago, but they did it at a really bad time. You know? I think this time they did it a little bit sooner. Like, I think they
Well,
did it, like,
they
3
changed
months.
the reward.
Oh no, what did they change it to?
They remember they changed the reward last time. They changed it from the thick to. Did they just ban it from the flea or what? Because the one I remember is where they changed the reward. They changed it to like some garbage stuff. They changed it to like, a normal weapons case, like a med case or something, and everyone was just like, because the thick case is like so much better, and like half the people had got it and half the people hadn't, and that was the issue. Some people had already done it, and then they were like, "But you said it's not supposed to be a race," and then they like changed it halfway through, and like 20% of the player base had already got the thick case. They're like, "You can't just do
Okay,
that." That's the one that I
that
remember.
makes
Maybe
more
there was
sense.
another one as
Yeah.
well. Maybe there was another
No,
one
no, I
too. I
think you're
don't know.
right. I think that's the one.
Oh God, I remember Tarkov City being literally ablaze. It was like you go onto Reddit and like every single post was about the thick case removal. I was like, holy crap! I've actually never seen such a community like explosion. That's actually mental. That's actually mental. I don't know.
I
Yeah,
think it's better though, because you're not getting the 16 million. You're still getting the case value that it offers. And if you want, you can vendor it for, what is that
I don't
like?
even know what they pay for it.
It's got to be like, I'm gonna look it up right now.
Is it like 2 mil or something to therapist? It must be. I don't know.
Mm,
Or is it less? I'm not sure.
oh, you're
I
right,
think
2
you're.
mil.
Hey, look at that on the money. I think your take is right though. It's like as a gamer, you're like, oh, it sucks, it's not there. But like, as somebody who's interested in like the game design of the whole entity
Sure.
and the experience of the player, like it's better for it not to be there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because like, and there's a lot of people who said about it, just like, once you've got that in the bank, it kind of just the scarcity sort of goes away, the fear factor goes away, the gear fear goes away, and 16 mil is enough that you could potentially burn through it. But like realistically, as we said before, most people
If
make
you,
money in on
yeah.
aggregate, like if not just break even, right? And it's like unless you
Yeah.
really are being like frivolous, then
Hmm.
most people once they have that 16, they never drop below. And so it's just like the wipes then just kind of easy mode forever. So it's good, and I like the way that this cycle is shaping up this time. In that it's hard, it's difficult. People are struggling to find some items. The high tier stuff's banned. Lots of people are using lower tier armor and whatnot. Right? It's like it's good, and the lower tier ammo and armor. I think it's decent. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. And then obviously they banned Tagilla and the killer armors, and even some level fours are gone. Right? It's like the AVS is gone
Oh yeah,
from the flea, I think, and
a question mark for me.
yeah, I think there's a couple of others. This is like the Ars Armor A18. I think there's like a couple of the top end level 4 rigs that are gone. The Trooper is still for purchase, even though it's the best. So I'm not really sure. Maybe it's a space thing. I don't know. But it seems sort of arbitrary. I'm not sure. But the top
It's
rigs
a
seem to be
weird one.
gone. But anyway, like broadly speaking, I don't think it matters too much what they removed specifically, so long as they got rid of all the 5s and 6, which they did, and they got rid of most of the good ammo off the flea, which they did. So broadly speaking, it's okay. I did actually want to
Hmm.
spin a little tale about some of
Oh,
the changes and the ammo changes and just the way that the stuff has gone. So people may or may not have noticed at this point that level 4 armor is probably going to become ubiquitous within the game, right? It's easily purchasable from Ragman, and you can't buy anything else at lower levels. And there's actually a whole separate topic about this, which maybe we'll have time for. I'm not sure about the accessibility of like the higher tier stuff for higher tier players.
mhm.
And not for lower tier players, and it's kind of like there was a video on it that I nearly made a response to, but I ran out of time and just didn't. Anyway, that's kind of separate. So what matters at the moment, especially given that not that many people are running level 5, is what rounds beat level 4.
Yeah.
And really, as long as you're getting above 37 pen, you can use kind of whatever you like above that. And it's one of my predictions that for kind of like the middle of the wipe, the MP7 with FMG ammo is going to be like, oh, tier. It's going to be like, honestly, crazy. It's
Yeah.
going to be so good. Everyone is going to die to the MP7, and they're going to be very, very mad about it because it's going to be super cheap. And the ammo is super cheap, and everyone's going to die, and they're all going to be angry. Anyway, that aside, so the other round that is absolutely insane is M80, right? And
Yes.
most people have picked up this and gone like, okay, this guy just like huge round, 7.62
Right.
by 51 NATO, big round, big damage, and it's basically like early game M61, honestly, because it auto pens level 4 pretty much and does huge damage. It kills everybody. So Peacekeeper's continuously sold out, right? Because it's a Peacekeeper 2 purchase, but within like the first half a minute or something of Peacekeeper 2, it's all gone. because it's such a great round at the moment, and that's totally fair, fine. But then it's going for a ridiculous price on the Flea because people still want to buy it, right? So I did actually see a wild post that somebody put up on Twitter, which was 855 for 556 when it was sold out, and that was going at like 1,000 rubles around or something. And I was like, okay, this wipe is actually crazy, and I kind of love it, but like this wipe is pretty nuts. Anyway, so M80 is like going crazy. Separate topic again, which maybe we'll talk about. Lighthouse is completely insane for just like loot in general. So that aside, I'm just casually running scav on Lighthouse, which I've been doing a lot, and I run into a whole bunch of the rogues that are just dead in one of the warehouses. Loot the guys, whatever, pick up the stuff. Don't really think too much of it. One of them's got a FAL, or is it SA-58 with like a couple of drums, whatever. I'm like, okay, fine, leave the raid. Turns out the dude's just like completely stacked with M80 rounds. I've got like 150 M80s. I'm like, okay, and this is all fine in raid as well. Obviously, Peacekeeper's sold out because it's like, not 3 seconds before after the timer's gone. I'm like, so what price are these things going for? It's just like, whoa. Okay, so they're going for like, 1,200 to like 2,000, something like this. And this was before the Christmas gift. This was before everyone got given a load of M80s for free, which has had some impact on the market because not many people are buying. This was before that when they were really scarce. So I was like, okay, well, I'll put the first 50 up. I'll put them up for like, I don't know, 2,000 or something just to see what happens. Just like 1 minute later, just like bang, gone, all of them. I was like, okay. So then like the final, I was like, how can I really like make a ton here? So they're just like the last 100, I split them up into stacks of like 19, 23, whatever, because I didn't want to put them all up in one go. Because I was like, people are going to know. So then like I listed them in like 5 separate lots, like one sold, and I put one up for like 3K, and that sold. I was like, okay. And I sold all of the rest of them, like 80 rounds for like 3,500 each. And from this one, so I had all the stuff that came out this scav raid with, right? From like the 150 rounds of M80, it made like 600k or something, or like 500k. It's like, honestly, it's outrageous. It was like, and that was just the ammo in the mags, just the ammo. It was insane. It was insane. So yeah, it's wild, dude. It's actually wild. Like the demand for M80 before, I haven't actually looked after the Christmas gift, but like it's just like it was off the charts. It's off the charts. It's one of the best ammos right now.
I find it like very ironic how a few wipes ago everyone was complaining about slicks in M61, and the price was literally like 3,000 rubles a round, and now everyone like it's basically just slid down the slider. Now it's M80 is 3,000 a round. Everyone's complaining about class 4 and 5 armor. It's just, oh man, it's kind of funny, but I mean. To me, it makes sense because I can go into Scav Raid and try to find M80, or I can just click one button and get it off the Flea. You know what I mean? It's like I felt like a lot of the pricing comes from just the ease, like the ease of the transaction. Like it's so effortless. There's really no risk. I mean, I feel like the bulk of what you're paying for is the ease of getting the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and it's just kind of like, it's that expensive because if you got SA-58s on scavs with 10 rounders with M80, people would have enough of it that the flea market would be flooded enough that it wouldn't be that price, right? It would be something lower. But it's the fact that you never get it on scavs. You only get it on like raiders, rogues, and you can just tell from the price that that's not happening. Or like at least if you do, it's extremely rare. But like in my experience so far, if you get like a NATO gun like that, a 51 NATO gun, it's gonna have like TCW or like or whatever the other one's called, BP something. The lower, like the lower rounds on there, which like some of them are not too bad, but then they're not M80.
Yeah, they can't go through class 4.
Well, this is the thing, right? Like one's 36 pen and one's 40 pen, and like as I've talked previously, right, that's like it's right in the sweet spot for class 4. It's like if you're looking at like PST for 9mm is like 20 pen, and like match FMJ for the for ACP it's like 25 pen, and like it's 5 pen different. Like that's great. It's like, well, it is, and like don't get me wrong, like the UMP and its ammo, like they're good, and they're probably better than like they're probably better than like the MP5 or whatever. But like 20 to 25 pen is like you're getting all the pen but in the wrong range. Against level 3 armor, the 20 pen is like 10%, 25 pen is like 30%. So it's
Right.
like it's the 5 pen doesn't matter, right? Whereas you go from 36 pen to 40 pen against level 4, it goes from like 40 pen to like 95% pen for like
Yeah.
4 penetration points or something. Like it's crazy. It's actually crazy. Like the sensitivity in that range
Right.
is like off the charts. Because like 37 is like right on the sweet spot. 37 is like 55% chance or something. It's like right on it. It's right there. And that's where BT sits. It's also where 56A1 sits. If you want to do better than that, you need something higher than that. The other round that Loki slaps, by the way, like the gun, there's not that many guns for it, which is kind of where the problem lies. But 366 AP, oh man, that thing can like one tap through level 4. It
Yeah.
can do. I'm not sure if it always does. Still, the jury's out on that, in my opinion. I don't actually know, but it definitely can, and it definitely has. But the AK kind of Vepri KM, whichever one it's called, I always get them confused. But the AK copy that uses the 366 is pretty punchy when it comes to the recoil. And the only other
Hmm.
option that you have is the 4 round mag bolt action, the VPO 215.
Yeah.
So it's it's kind of tricky. Whereas like yeah, M80 fits in the RFB, which is a solid gun, costs 50K.
Yeah. That's a steal, and it's got the rails on
Mm,
it.
mm, mm.
Pretty much comes good to go out the box. Just slap a scope and a grip on it if you want. Maybe a
Yeah,
laser. It's,
yeah,
you know,
exactly,
100%.
exactly. And someone in chat saying like on this topic, I killed a regular scav on woods that had 3 mags of um 855 A1. That's all well and good, but you can't sell the 855. That's fine. That's honestly really, really decent. And you can use that, and that's perfect. But you ain't gonna be selling 855 for nearly 4,000
It's
rubles around, right? Because like
yeah.
you can't sell it on the flea. So it's actually you're better off almost finding the M80s, even though it's like a worse round. You can actually sell it to other players, and somebody's gonna pay a stupid price. Like
Yeah.
someone like me, like I would never pay that on the flea,
Right.
and so that's
Right.
why I'm selling it
Same.
there, because I would wait for the trader and then do the thing. And if I can't do the thing, I'm just going to run a different gun. Like I just won't use it. I just like morally opposed to paying that. I don't know. Like I just can't. But other people who are probably more sensible than me, just go, well, it's a video game, whatever, and then we'll spend what is it like 70,000 rubles on 20 rounds, which makes me vomit in my mouth a little bit. But maybe that's a more sensible, gear fearless approach to the game than my min maxy kind of slightly anally retentive OCD sort of method of making superfluous rubles and then wiping with like 50 mil in the bank. Who knows? Who's to say? Who's to say they're not right?
Well, here's another way to look at it. Let's just say you're fortunate enough to be at your PC all day. Um, and you have the opportunity to just set an alarm and buy it off the trader
Mm,
instead of paying that price. I mean,
yeah.
assuming all else is equal, in regards to the person having that luxury and the person not. But it, yeah, this is the first wipe where I've actually used an alarm system because I
Mm,
would log on and I would be like, okay, I got this SR25 that I like parted together and bought a few parts. Let me get some M80 in them. Okay, got some M80 in them. Next day, I log on. It's out of stock. M80 is gone. Like, I guess everyone unlocked PC number 2 in the next day. And every time I went to go buy it after a raid, I check, it's out of stock. It's out of stock. It's out of stock. You don't want to just like sit there and wait. So now it's just like, dude, I got my alarm. I'm working on something. Alarm goes off. Okay, it's like boot up Tarkov. Go buy the thing. So now I got like 400 plus rounds of M80. I got like I don't know if you saw, but the rat rigs, the 6B 30, whatever they're called, that Ragman 2 sells, class 4
mm,
armored rigged. It used to be 6 per reset. Then it was constantly getting sold out, and I was like bummed out. Then I saw they changed to 3 per reset, which I think kind of helped with the availability of it. And they've been doing this to a lot of different ammos. They've been changing, like I think the UMP AP ammo, 45 AP, its availability got lowered. Now it's like you can only get 100 or 90 per reset or something.
okay.
But well, I've heard I'm not there yet. But nonetheless, it's like yeah, I have so many. I have a ton of rat rigs because I'm just tired of things being. I log on. I'm like, oh, I want to have good armor because I worked so hard to get this quest unlocked. Oh, it's sold out. Yay. I can't buy anything that I want. It's actually, I hate that mechanic so much. Someone put a Twitter thread. I'm like, yes, this mechanic sucks. There's
Yeah.
nothing fun about this mechanic. We've talked about it before. So I won't go too long on a rant, but man, do I hate that mechanic.
I know. I saw that Twitter thread as well, and I said exactly the same thing that we've said before on it, which is just like the trader timer resets just feels bad. It's not realistic. It's not good for gameplay. It's bad for both. You know, like you want some kind of like some wait list, or you know, you can only go in the queue once. You go in the queue and you get allocated something or whatever, like something like anything, something that's better than what we have now. Like it's just
Yeah,
silly.
for sure, for
It's
sure.
just a stupid mechanic. Just doesn't do anything good for anybody. It just sucks. But yeah, no, I had the same thing about level 4 too. I had definitely had one stage where I was like, oh, I'm like actually just like ran out. So I did buy like a whole bunch of rat rigs,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, well, I'm like just gonna use these. It's fine. By the time I use them, some other stuff will have come back off insurance, and I'll like use those again. I'll like cycle them through, whatever. And like for some reason, I think I just got like extra bludgeoned one particular afternoon, and I was like, okay, I've been, you know, had my like face smacked in like 20 times. I think I was on factory. Actually, that's another like I've got yeah, that's another tangential story. But anyway, so I like got my face like bashed in like 20 times. I think I was trying to do stir up,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh, I'm out of class 4. Huh. Let's go and check the flea market. So I was just like, right, I was going to the crappiest, you know, crappiest, most awful piece of ceramic gold. 75K? I was like, what? You have to be kidding me. This is absurd. These armors are
And it's
absolute
not
garbage
even
as well.
100%, was it?
No, no,
Yeah,
it's like
I know.
38 out of 42 or something, and it's like 75,000 for like the awful ceramic armor. I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay, well, this is what this wipe is about. I feel like I'm feeling the squeeze now. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it
Yeah.
myself. I'm kind of like, I'm hating it, but I'm loving it. You know, it's just like, it's that thing. I'm like, oh, when's Ragman coming back off cooldown? I'm just like, oh, dude, it's like an hour and a half. Like, what am I going to do? I'm not even sure what I'm going to do here. I could like do something else. Maybe I'll like scav run on, uh, on Lighthouse again because it's just like it's just so juicy. But it's good. Anyway, you know, like what my experience on Factory recently, dude. I don't know. Like, have you been having the same experience as me? Right, this tends to happen in Tarkov sometimes, but this wipe in particular, like every single person that I seem to face, and it was a particular period, and it's got a little bit better, but I've like not been going to Factory again that much, right? And you know, I feel fairly comfortable on Factory, generally speaking.
Hmm.
But usually with the weapons that I'm comfortable with, I'm normally going in with stuff that I don't normally use, and so maybe that's why. But like every person I seem to face is like the second coming of John Wick. Honestly, it's outrageous. It's like you turn around, like I'm just getting headshot left, right, and center. I
I was
use a
gonna say
pistol,
those.
I get headshot. I use a full auto weapon, I get headshot before I manage to shoot them back. Like I come around the corner, someone headshots through the PPSH. I'm like, "Oh, dude, what is going on? This is absolutely insane. I died like 6 or 7. I ended up actually just being like, it wasn't like a rage quit, but I was like, I just need to go to bed because this is just not working. Like something I'm doing. He was just like not working. Everybody is killing me. This is crazy. Like I had like 2 days where I was just like trying to do stir up, just getting and other stuff too. There's like I can't remember. I think it was just like I had a bunch of dailies in Factory 2 just like survive twice, and I was like, this is impossible. I think it was before I got to the fleet, and so I didn't have the factory exit key as well. And I was like, I just need to survive twice. But I was like, I wasn't even surviving the engagement within forklifts and stuff. It was just like the dude comes around the corner, it's just like Glock to the face, like M1911 to the face, like PPSH to the face, like you know, express buckshot to the face. And it was just like any time I appeared in any fashion, it was just like instant headshot. And so I actually did the thing that I said I would never do, and I started wearing the Kiver with the Kiver face shield. I have never, ever, ever done this before. And guess what? It started working. And guess what? Every single raid, I had to replace the face shield.
Mm.
Every single time. I would get busted in the face shield and not die because everyone's using crap ammo, but is like completely cracked apparently. And I was like, right, well, I'm killing these people because they're shooting me in the face like they were before, but I'm not dying. But they're using like, I don't know, AKBS rounds or whatever for the PPSH or like whatever bullshit they're using. You know, it's just like honestly, I was getting so frustrated. I'm like, I'm just going to turn my volume up on my game like 2 times and just use the Kipper face shield and the helmet. I've never done this before. It's the very first wipe I've ever worn. I've never
Uh,
worn the Kipper in anger. Not ever. Not ever. Honestly, not in the entire time that I've played this game. And this is the first wipe, and it's like working on factory, but like what is happening? People are insane. Like either people are insanely good, or I'm like doing something wrong, or like I'm not sure. Maybe it's inertia. I don't know. I don't know. What's your experience, dude? Like honestly, I was at a loss. Like one night, I was just at a complete
I
loss. I was
was
like, I'm just going to bed. This sucks.
I was just about to say we can find any mechanic you want to point out and blame. I was gonna go with recoil, dude.
It actually
I
could be.
I Well, see, I was getting my butt handed to me the other day, dude, and it was like, man, one I spawned behind behind power on the customs, like in like kind of like near these rocks, and so I run to the train, and then I start taking my painkills, and I hear someone sprinting at the top of the rocks where like the stash is at. Like, great, I'm about to get engagement. I got my ump suppressed. I'm like classical armor. I'm like decently kitted. I'm shooting this guy. I'm shooting this guy. I'm trying to get onto his head, and I'm like like I'm just laying bullets into him, and then I just die instantly. And then he head eyes me, and he's like, it's like he missed every shot except for the one shot he hits my face, and it's like I just like smashed my desk. I'm like, how did that guy not die? Because if he's wearing class 4, also, I'm hitting him in the if I'm hitting him in the stomach
Yeah.
or armor, it's not gonna do anything basically. But then another raid. I'm in dorms. I hear this guy. I didn't think he heard me. I'm in like 2-story first floor on the gated side, and
Mhm.
I'm peeking the stairwell. I'm trying to catch him as soon as he starts walking because I thought he didn't hear me, so I thought he was just gonna walk out in the open and I just get a free kill. But I'm left hand peeking, which is just like a bad disadvantage on my side. But that's just how the cards fell. Basically, it's either I give away my position and get a right hand peek, or I, keep my position and do a left hand peek. So I chose that option. But I guess wrong on the timing. He wasn't all the way out in the hallway. He was just like still going down the stairs. And like the instant I see him on my screen, I'm just dead, and I'm just like, oh, love it, dude. And it's just like there's really nothing I can do there. I mean, left side peek plus desync. I'm just seeing. He basically just peeks me and I just die instantly. It's just how that goes. So, yes, for those wondering, by the way, Inertia did not fix desync. Like I've seen that comment and I can't help but laugh. Which I'm gonna go on another tangent. I've been watching Landmark while I've been working a couple days,
Oh, cool.
and it happens to him like every like a couple of raids, but he'll like shoot a guy, and you can see you can see the blood on his head like after he
Mhm.
kills him, and it's like I headshot that guy. How did that guy live? And, once he kills him again, then then you can see the blood on the head, and it's like or he'll team up with them. And, like, to me, that's just, like, a clear red flag of just, like, client side and server side desynchronization. Because like, yeah, on your client, you shot him on the head, but the server said, "No, you did not shoot him in the head. You clearly missed there." Stuff like that is oh, man. That's so annoying. That happens in Rust too. It's like you get these things that are called invalids, which basically just means the server didn't register your shots. So you just, like, spray at this guy's head and like it's like, dude, I shot him twice in the head. Why didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, long story short, I've been getting my butt handed to me. I can't remember what else happened that was like just like shenanigans related that day, but I kind of just feel like this is just my initial opinion that the Recoil changes just made everything more RNG related. Like kind of the beauty and like the downside of like the old system, once you got to like the late game meta stages, like especially with like the M4s and like the AK 74Ns just like fully modded, like you had like barely any recoil.
Mm.
That just meant like if you were just a god, you were a god. You know what I mean? You could just like drill people from across the map. And but now it's like I think that's gone. I'm seeing a lot more of single tap meta, like scope and single tap to the head. Like you just
Yeah.
go for these really precision shots. Um, but in this current stage where I'm at, where a lot of people are at, we don't really have those kits yet. So we're running like kind of crap gear. So we're just shooting potatoes, and the first potato that hits the other potato head wins. I don't know. It's like I don't know. I can't. It's a hard thing to like really nail down, but just my initial impressions, I think I prefer um, the old system. I don't want to say system, but the old recoil, because the unfortunate thing is how it's like there's pros and cons to it, but the downside is how it's currently set up. You can account for horizontal vertical recoil, which is great, but you can't account for random left or right recoil. So you just quote unquote try to stay on target. So it's a
Mm.
little bit RNG, which is okay. Maybe it should be that way. You're not um just full autoing people across the map. Um with that way you incentivize like precision shots, right? But then
Yeah.
the ironic thing is like the precision shots, it's like the same. There's no it's like the same thing. So if you shoot too fast, then you get in that same. You're basically in that same space. Like I don't know. It's kind of a weird system because then they have the physics of the recoil guns. Because I'm fairly confident that if you tapping versus full auto, you get more recoil tapping because I don't know about this system. But I know for sure in the old system, if you tapped more than you versus full autoing, you couldn't reach the auto recoil adjustment where it would start bringing your gun down. So you just end up keep going up and up and up and up. Like it would take you longer for your PMC's auto recoil to like level out. So it's like it was like a disadvantage to single tap rapidly. I don't know. It's I say out there to say that this new recoil system. I keep saying system. The changes they made to the recoil, I'm not like I don't know what would be a ideal system because if they go like full CS:GO, having a set recoil pattern for every gun is like a ton of work. There's so many guns in the game. God, I would not wish that on them. And that has its own downsides. It's like the game becomes there's so much more depth, which means you automatically add complexity to the game. You just turn off a huge part of the player base. Like it's I mean, that's like half the reason why I didn't get super hardcore in Rust because the AK spray was like really hard to master. It wasn't like the SMGs that were easy. So I would have to like I felt like I had to spend like 5 hours a day practicing just to compete at the you know the the top tier stuff. So it was like yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I've seen some solutions. I had to look back at them. But long story short, new recoil. I don't know if I like so far.
Yeah, I don't know. Like as I said a second ago, I think to me it just feels like they just amped up the old recoil. It seems like the old recoil is
Correct.
like times by like 1.5 or something, or maybe even more, like 1.7, something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And at
I
the
see
and
that.
then in the full auto stabilization zone, which they said they were going to reduce. I don't even know what that means, but you don't have to. I mean, your PMC still does the stabilization, so they haven't reduced anything. All they've done is make it so that it shakes more violently, I think, while that full auto stabilization period occurs towards the end. I think you're quite right about the semi-auto thing because when you're tapping, you're in the period of like climb.
Mhm.
You've got the recoil profile, which it goes up and then it goes halfway and then it flattens. But you're in the climb phase the whole time when you're running semi usually. Um,
Mhm.
just because of just the way that you use the weapons, and because the whole recoil profile was up and flat, and now the whole thing's gone. Now it's like up and flat. It's like the
Right.
whole thing's pushed up.
Larger.
Semi also feels worse. It's now a longer reset time, or a greater. Maybe it's not even the time, but it's a greater distance now to reset back from a shot, which means that you lose the sight of the target for longer. It's harder to get back on target because the gun just jumps more or
Yeah.
whatever, right? And so I feel that like in some ways it does seem to be a weird thing where it's like if you're there like lining up the shot and you fire once and like the guy comes around the corner you fire once, it's like there's a lot of just like you see someone and then one person just taps the other person. If the first round doesn't connect, then it's just like recoil duel where like everyone's bullets just going everywhere. But it's that first round, it's that first engagement, you get the you get it off and that's it, bang, they're dead, and then great. It's like, yeah, really struggling on factory, just like getting killed by everybody. It's actually, after you were speaking, I did kind of remember that I sort of had a little follow up to what I was talking about like
Mhm.
after I semi raged and like left and was just like, right, I'm gonna come back to this another day, and came back and like actually tried to do stir up because I was like, man, I'm not even gonna like attempt stir up if I'm just dying so much with the guns that I like. But like, I think it also comes back to what I've said about the MP5, where like I've just fallen out of favor with it. The recoil's just not working for me. People are just like tapping me with pistols instead. And I went back to using the M9 and went through and I did a couple of raids. And the third raid I did ended up killing like 4 people. One dude was using a full auto weapon, like killed a bunch of other guys. It was actually like the clips are in the latest video I did, like the very beginning, the intro. Almost all of that comes from one raid. Like there's the first couple of clips which are from other raids, and then the rest of it's all the one raid on factory. It's just like running around, just like tapping people in the head with the M9. And I was like, this feels like absurdly powerful actually, just because the way that you're playing the game is different. It's psychological. It's not even just that the weapon is good. It's like you know that you only have one shot really, and so you're kind of like waiting for that moment and then like using that to fire, and then waiting for the reset and lining it up and then firing again, right? Whereas with the MP5, I just have or the UMP or whatever, right? PPSH. I just have the tendency to just go like, fine, well, I'm just going like main thorax, and like hopefully if I get a bounce up and they'll hit the head, then it'll kill them quick, But primarily I'm like guaranteeing the kill with the thorax, but I might hit them in the head, and that's just like this is not working now at all. It just isn't working whatsoever. Um, and I think it's interesting just how much that sort of changed the gameplay. And I ended up taking it to its like full logical conclusion, which is actually why I ended up starting running the weapon that I am using for Punisher on Shoreline, because I finished the office kills on Factory after doing Stir Up. I was like, had them both at the same time, and I think I did one kill that was like in tandem or something. And I was like, okay, full auto's not working. I did actually try to take the 7.62 AK with minimal mods to dorms, and I fired at somebody. I know it was a scav. It was a scav that I fired at, and oh my goodness, I actually could not kill them with full auto. I ended up having to go like proper semi and like bang, bang,
Yes.
bang. I tried to full auto this
Feel
dude,
that a
and it was just
ton.
like grrrg, grrrg, and ended up on burst even, and it was just like first shot near the target, but I missed. Second shot, like way over his head. Third shot is just like it's arcing. He's going to end up in Siberia or something because it's just like the ridiculous angle I got on this thing. So I was like, okay, this is not working at all. So what I ended up doing on Factory, and this is where the idea came from, as I said, is I went for like super basic mods, like literally nothing. Right? It was basically just like the butt pad on the AK. That was it,
Hmm.
and the
Hmm.
AK-100 handguard with like the Ergo foregrip,
Yeah.
and then the cheap blue laser and the
Yeah.
drum, and I was like, I'm going to run at people and I'm going to press the barrel into their body at point blank in the office, and I'm not going to fight down any corridors. I'm not going to fight down like office corridor itself. I'm going to be like in bathrooms. I'm going to be, if someone's in office, I can rush them in office. Dude, it worked like an absolute treat. I just like went up to people at like shotgun, like, well, not even shotgun level. It's like way closer than that. Like it's just insanely close. And it's just like, it doesn't even matter if they're using level 4 armor because I'm going to be using PS and they're going to die. And I ended up using that and actually worked really well. And it was like, there's so much this wipe I feel is about like, it's about like play style. It's like even less about like weapons necessarily themselves. It is about weapons too. It's about knowing what busts through what armor still. But like the way that you have to play the guns is so different to the previous wipes, in my opinion. It's just like it's wild. Honestly, it's really like rocking up the way that I'm playing the game in quite a considerable fashion.
Yeah. I and what's interesting too is, have you used the ump yet?
I've used it a little bit. The fire rate is a bit weird. The horizontal recoil I find is kind of too much. I full auto the dude and hit 6 out of 25 or something, and like didn't kill him.
Was that
And I was like,
suppressed
okay,
or unsuppressed?
unsuppressed,
Okay. See, I've been using
unsuppressed.
exclusively suppressed.
Okay, does that make it a lot better? I think it should.
It's an improvement, but it's like, man, it's I don't know. I feel like I need to test it unsuppressed.
Which is it now? The suppressor. Because that was my problem when I
Peacekeeper,
first started using it, because it was like 50k. I was like,
it is expensive,
nah, I ain't using that. That's way too much.
but I think it's pretty
Way too much.
good because it makes the recoil more manageable, I feel like. But
Yeah.
what I was gonna say is I just feel like
$406.
lower rate of fire is just kind of better,
I agree. I definitely agree.
which is not the logic of previous wipe.
Also agree.
So, like, I had an HK that was, like, pretty modded, like, 64 recoil, like, that's I mean, that's better than an AK in a lot of situations, like an AKM, but
Hmm.
I tested in the hideout, it literally hits the ceiling when you full auto, like, you can't full auto. You absolutely like, I was trying to kill scavs and dorms, like you were saying, like, bursting them, and I couldn't kill them. I don't know where my bullets were going, it's just like, oh, man, and then it's like, kinda how I was thinking when you were just talking about, like, the one tap thing is like, man, it is really hardcore with that first shot because if you miss, oh boy, are you heavily punished. But then it's kinda
Yeah.
like the inverse. It's like, but if I just spray and catch a head eyes, then it's like, you know what I mean? You're almost like you're saying, just like barrel stuffing. I don't know. It's there's I would like it to be kinda more consistent on the opposite ends of the spectrum, I don't know. Like, if
Yeah.
they can make it where it's like, if you're gonna full auto, you're gonna lose, you're gonna give something up, but if you're gonna go for like consecutive precision shots, like you're still gonna get punished, but not like how it is currently. Because man, it just feels like, dude, you shoot once, I can't see the guy. Oh, I can see him now. Oh, I'm dead. You know, it's just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
really rough.
it's rough. It's rough. Yeah, yeah, chat's saying like, oh, you find the UMP very controllable. Honestly, like, yeah, look, don't get me wrong, right? Like, I'm being a bit harsh on it. I think
Mhm.
it's better than the. Honestly, I think for multiple reasons actually that it's better than the MP5, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's got rails already. Like, the ammo is better. The low rate of fire actually works for this patch in terms of exactly what you were saying in terms of controllability. Do you think it's actually a plus? Um, I'm not a huge fan of suppressor, kind of just because of the price. But
it's
yeah, so the
expensive.
suppressor
Yeah,
cuts it from 53. I'm just looking now, 53 to 44 recoil, which is,
pretty
I mean,
good.
it's pretty good. That's pretty good. So yeah, I think it's just like it's just too much for me to ever recommend to anybody as like a budget weapon. Like I just didn't think for that much you can do. I just feel like maybe you can do something else. Maybe you can't. Maybe there's just not enough choice. Maybe you just can't do anything else. Maybe this is the best. I don't know. And there's also a foregrip, a full grip rail as well, which you can add something on. And because it's got a stock, it's not like yeah, it's low recoil anyway, but it's you can get a little bit of extra. Like if you put an RVG on it, it's like
Yeah,
42 vertical, which is okay. But I think like yeah, I don't know. I think maybe the guys that I was playing against were like, it's just like I just find it's too much money to spend on something that's just like it just doesn't adequately deal with class four for me.
it
Like if I'm going to be
doesn't.
full autoing at somebody, I want it to be able to deal with the armor. That's the problem. Like otherwise, why would I not just use the RFB with M80? I'm just going to semi-auto the guy and just
It's
bam bam dead, two shots thorax. Like why would I use the UMP instead? And it's like I just feel like at the moment, even though I think in theory it's quite good, I'm not sure for me. I'm just not sure where it's fitting. It's like a point blank. I feel like I'd rather use something else with like just
yeah,
bigger bullets, and then at longer distance, I'd rather use something else with bigger bullets. And I don't, I don't know. I feel like the level 4 thing is like actually becoming like such a critical like I don't know what's the word. So just becoming such a critical concept in the game. Like before, it was like everything sort of hinged off level 4 because it was kind of the first armor you get to. But now it's like the only armor anyone
it's the
has.
maximum.
It's like the max effectively,
Pretty
and
well much.
for the time being, for the time being,
Mm.
we shall see. Did you like? I guess this is kind of a good segue in some ways. Did you see this Sir Hans Vader's video about?
I did, but before we dive into that, can we take a quick break? Because I gotta use the bathroom. Omega bad.
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay, cool.
absolutely. That's
Quick
fine.
break. Quick
That's
break.
fine.
So,
So,
before we jump into that topic, I did want to address one thing I saw is they added some new crafts, or sorry, they added some new barter items,
mhm.
and um they've been changing a lot of stuff too. I've noticed like KS23, like it's banned off the flea market, but what caught me by surprise, they moved the level 2 barter. It's the short KS3 with like the
Like
aluminum.
wire stock or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They moved that to level. It was level 2. Now it's level 3 barter. And then the KS23 shotgun you could buy rubles that was on level 3 prepper. They moved to level 4, and it's barter only for 2 hoses, which I was really surprised they did that. But I guess now there's the double barrel shotgun, which I did use, and I took me a little bit to get used to like not instantly reloading and switching to this backup double barrel shotgun that you taught me. Um, and I gotta say it's pretty decent. It's pretty good. It gives it the church approval.
Still
So
a bit of a meme. Like the second shot still goes like kind of wild, but
yes,
at close range, like it can be okay. You have to
yep,
get a little bit lucky though.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, but they added some new hideout requirements. Like you need a sewing kit for Lavatory 2, I think. I think you need screw nuts or what is it, loose metal parts or something. Like there's some new.
Yeah, they've added a few random like new items, haven't they? There's like a couple of
Yeah.
new random things you need, like as you say, sewing kit, the loose metal parts, and I think there might be something else that I'm forgetting. Anyway, but yeah, so like I really don't like it when they add these requirements like halfway through a patch. I think it kind
Sure.
of like I think it's kind of I don't know. It's the same thing as I said before, right? About the thick case. It's like you say you don't want it to be a race. You don't want people to race through the content. But then when you just like when you lift the barrier, it's kind of like with the Bitcoin farm. Like I guess why I see why they did it and why solar power got really expensive and stuff. But when you do it like halfway through, surely there's better mechanics
Feels
to kind of. It feels rough. Yeah, it's like when they
yeah.
changed it. Was it last wipe or the wipe before where they changed it partway through where it was like remember it was like incredibly easy to start the hideout and then they were like, oh, you now need like a car battery to start the generator and stuff, and anyone who was like joining halfway through the wipe was just like, say what, like why is the hideout so difficult? And everyone's like, oh yeah, they've added all these like random things that like none of us had to deal with at the beginning, and it's just like it just feels really unfair,
Yeah.
which I mean, Tarkov, right? But at the same time it's just like yeah, I don't know,
It
it seems
it's
unnecessary.
it's one of those things where it's like to us as the players, it feels like a live game, like a what are those called, a live service game, right? And
Mm,
so we're playing the wipe. This is like the big thing, and then to us it feels like they're rewarding the players who were able to race to the finish in like the
yeah.
first week, and we get punished because we weren't able to do that. Whereas to them, they're probably just like, "Oh gosh, we forgot to add this," or like it's just like whenever they can get to it, they can get to it. It's like, yeah, this is on the list. Let's go and just add it. Like a
Yeah,
very
or like
unfortunate thing.
maybe before they had like, oh, we have a target, like how many people we want to be at certain stages or something. Oh, it's going too quickly. Okay, well, like we'll hike the barrier up a little bit. It's just I find it weird that they've like added. Yeah, maybe they just didn't get around to finishing them. That could be the case actually, as you're saying. They didn't finish some of these new barter items or whatever, and so they've like just added them in like 2 weeks in or
Mhm.
something. It's possible. It's definitely possible. It's it's kind of strange. It is kind of strange. There were a couple of other like random changes as well. I just think it's unfair. I just think that's unfair.
Yeah, I don't like it for sure. I don't think it's a good thing, but I will say that the prices for this stuff is like going to plummet. This happens all the time when they add something new. The
Mm.
price will be really high and then it will come down. Like right now, sewing kits are Tarkov market is showing for like 70K. They were 300K when they first came out, so it's not. It's getting better,
Same as like
but
med
it's
tools, I
it's on
suppose.
it's on yeah, oh yeah, metals have plummeted. They plummeted. Like they're 20K. Like maybe not even that. Maybe they're even lower. So
Mm.
um yeah, just give it some time, guys. And unfortunately, it's just how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, exactly. I
I'll allow
mean,
the I'll allow you to maintain your pitchforks though, just slightly lower them.
I guess like yeah, just before we do actually jump into that like final topic, there's
Yes.
like the other updates which we should just like skim over very
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
like the BSG Christmas gift. If anyone hasn't gone and collected their Christmas gift, you have to do that awkward thing where you go onto your actual profile on the website, you scroll down a little bit, there's a Christmas gift, you press the button, then it comes from a message from system within the game that you pick up and you get like the Scar H. I mean, most people know this by now, but anybody who's like I don't know, either hasn't done it before, wasn't really paying attention, or was like playing seriously for the first time. Like, for you guys, that's what you have to do. You have to go to your actual profile, and then you get Scar H, you get some M80, which is kind of why the price has gone down a little bit.
Mhm.
6 impact grenades, and an ammo case, I think is the main thing. So there's a
Alright.
few other things you get, like a beard and stuff, but
600 rounds, was it 600? 500 rounds of 7.62 BP or 6 impact grenades? Which one do you choose? Which is the lesser of two evils?
honestly, I think at least the impact nades it's only 6. I don't think it's that bad. Like I think 600 rounds of BP is way worse because like it was so soon after the wipe last time. It's just like
Yeah,
people just like top loading BP into SKSs and it was just awful. It was just awful. At least the
yeah,
impact grenade is like there's only 6, then they're gone. They blow up
right.
and it's disappeared. Like I personally think that's better. Um, I don't know, like people got given a lot of M80 here. I think there's a lot of M80 being handed out, but it's still it's okay. I
It's
guess it's not
I
too bad.
way better than that wipe because dude, those that Christmas gift, I felt like it just kind of ruined the early game progression, in my
Yeah,
opinion. This one's I feel like it's way more balanced. So
yeah,
good job,
yeah. And it's only
balance.
Peacekeeper 2 anyway, right? You can go and get M80s from Peacekeeper 2, so
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
like it's not too bad.
Um,
It's not too bad. But yeah, so that was the other one. So yeah, I don't know. Vader of Sir Hans Vader's video. That was the
yeah,
thing that I wanted to speak about.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I had someone messaged me on Twitter and said like, "Hey, have you seen this? Like, what do you think?" And I watched it, and the thing is, like, my gut instinct. So for anybody who didn't watch the video itself, he was basically saying, like, is this wipe going to end up in a terrible state towards the end? Because, and I kind of insinuated this previously, I think, when we talked before, in that, like, the wipe feels, well, actually, maybe it was on Discord, actually. I can't remember now whether it was on here or whether it was on Discord directly. But this wipe feels like great at the moment, and the patch feels really good,
Right.
and the progression feels awesome now. But the problem is that once players start getting towards level 3 and level 4 traders, especially Ragman, I think he's one of the biggest problems. They will be able to access Kaduracraft. They'll be able to access really high tier armor really cheaply. And not only is it super cheap now, in previous patches, you could get things like a CPC. You could buy it off the flea. Yes, it was expensive, but you could buy one if you want. Sorry. But now you can't buy one at all, and only those high level players are able to access the cheap barter. What does this mean? Well, it means that there's a bigger gulf between the average player and the top players than ever before. And we've complained in the past that there was no middle class in Tarkov previously, and I think this will almost make it worse. You've got like a ton of people who just like gated at level 4, and then a whole bunch of people who are like, level 5 and level 6, and it's easy for them to access. And those people at the level 4 stage previously could spend a bit more to counteract their lack of trader rep, to jump up to those higher tier armors and compete with those people. Like, wearing level 4 armor, I just feel that maybe the ammo changes will make an impact, but I do think it's going to be a bit of an issue, but maybe not for the reasons that the Hans was talking about, because I spent a long time thinking about it. Right? I spent a very long time thinking about it, and this is why I ended up like I was going to make a response video to it. Was actually like going to do that, and then I didn't, because I was like, oh, it's really nuanced and actually quite complicated.
Yeah.
I don't think that the initial take is necessarily like the full picture, because it's sort of correct. It is correct. It actually is right. I think what he's saying is right. There will be a bigger gulf, etc., etc. But the only reason why this is a problem, in my opinion, because casuals were never the issue. Like, casuals weren't getting to those levels anyway, and we're always going to get wrecked by the high end players. So it didn't really matter. It's more about, to me, it's more about like the middle tier players, actually players more like myself, right? Who probably like know decent amount about the game, but don't necessarily play a ton. But you can kind of like, you can be crafty about the stuff that you run and be like value orientated and kind of min maxing and like know enough, and like, just you're sort of specking out your gear loadout versus the amount that it costs, and like running something that's like efficient. That kind of play style has been like gutted and cut out, which is kind of annoying. So I think I'm going to end up struggling in sort of the mid late before it ends up being late. I think the mid late is going to be tough, because players like me used to go for like budget armors that you could buy off the flea market, things like the Redoute, things like the Gen 4s, the cheaper Gen 4s, which now you just can't buy on the flea whatsoever, and you'll have to find them some other way, which is fine. But the problem is that the way that and this is actually the fundamental conclusion that I came to, and I'm still slightly unsure in my mind exactly as to whether this is the problem, but those armors worked and the progression functioned because of the market forces within the flea, pricing everything as to its value to the various players who are using them. The problem now is that we're reliant upon the trader prices for all of those armors predominantly. Like, yeah, you might find them in Raid, sure, but now things like the Redoute M, you now have to buy that from Ragman.
Right.
But it's way too expensive. It's way, way, way too expensive. So actually, the problem that we have here is fixable, I think, if the traders progress in a sensible fashion. The problem here is that like the top end crafts are like incredibly cheap. They're really cheap, and the level 4 armor is also pretty cheap, actually. Like, to just run level 4 armor, like the Ragman stuff, like it's pretty cheap. Like, you can get it fairly cheaply. But some of the level 5 stuff in the middle is this weird hump where, like, previously on the flea it'd be like, Rat Rig is 55k. Some of the mid-tier, like the mid-tier level 5 armors that people don't really like that much, for a bit out of favor, are like 130, like 140, something like that. And then like the top tier armor is like 300k. But if you're a top level player, you can get some of the level 5 armors for, really, really low price. Like some of the best level 5 armors for like 120k or something. But that mid-tier stuff, they're like I can't remember what the Voodoo Tem is. It's like 240,000 for Ragman or something. It's
Yeah,
just like that price is just so high.
that's
The
really
progression
expensive.
system worked previously just because of the way that market forces were running. And now I think because we've taken the market out, we've got static prices, like you say, and now we're sort of stuck in this point where like it's just not efficient to use those because it just doesn't make sense anymore. The price is just not right, and it needs to be. I think the prices need to be rebalanced. But then it will actually work. The progression would be okay so long as those prices work in that fashion and sort of scale up in a sensible fashion, in my opinion. And that is what I think is a problem after sitting there and thinking about it for a while. But like, look, I could be wrong. Like, it's just my first impressions of what's happening here.
Yeah, I mean it. Man, there's so much to say.
Mm,
It is interesting because, as you were saying, in the old, back when there was no restrictions on the flea, the slick was was priced at what people were willing to pay for it, as all the items are realistically, right? So it's dynamic in that sense, right? And there's only a certain amount of supply. You basically find them in caches or off raiders.
mm.
Um, Whereas with traders, it's a static price and it has a set quantity and maybe a set restriction. So it doesn't really account for market demands. It's just a flat thing, which
Yeah.
has its own pros and cons, right? Because if people are um if people don't see a lot of value in slicks, then that kind of lowers the price. Um So I don't let me not get myself caught up in a bunch of numbers. So anyways, and then the other side of it is when you have these barter trades, a player may not necessarily be aware that this is using a barter for a high tier armor. So let's say that's true for
Yeah.
a large group of players. They're not really aware that they're basically, giving away 60% discount items. They should be valued way more, like the AACP barter, for example, use that. The barter saves you, like 80K or something. I don't know what the number is compared to just buying off the flea. So if I have access to the barter and I just do that, right? But the person that's selling those items, they can't even it's not easy for them to see that that's the barter. They would have to like link search the item they're going to sell, remove barters, then they can see that's locked behind a trader if it's at the very top end of the results. It might not be
Yeah.
at the top end results. Other people could have other listings that can skew that. And yeah, it's kind of a weird system. So it's like this kind of like dark thing where like the the guy that's just doing a scav run that just found fleece and is like, God, I just want to just get some money off this, and he sells it to the guy that's buying it, and then he's gonna get the slick. He's like, "Thanks, dude. I'm just gonna go get this meta gear so you can't kill me." But he's not aware that this is happening behind the scenes. It's kind of a very unfortunate fault of all the systems in place. But getting to like the new system and how this armor's banned, it has in my opinion, it has created a gap where now this guy now he can't even buy, you're the level 15 guy. Previously, you could buy the AACP, It sure it wasn't as cheap as what the guy that was, level 42 was paying for it through the barters, but at least you could buy it. At least you had the option. Now you don't have the option. So it's like the system kind of even more rewards the whole speedrunning mentality, because d I'm not like, putting any shame or putting any blame on this guy, but Willers, he has items cases full of Hexgrid's barters, which they took out. Um, they removed that barter, actually, probably because people weren't realizing that these scav gear that they were bringing out raid were being used for a hex barter. So he has so many hex barters in his inventory because he just keeps doing the trade. And it's just like I don't really think it's a good thing because what in my mind how it sort of plays out, and I can agree with you. You're a casual player, you're playing Tarkov, you're gonna check out this game, and you're like, man, this game's really hardcore. I think once you get past Salewa, once you the Salewa quest, once you get past killing scavs on customs, turning into shotguns, and once you get past Gunsmith Part 1, you're gonna know by that time if this is a game you're gonna stick to, you know?
Mm.
Um, you're gonna sort of, like, transition once you get to the flea market, you know, maybe you make it a flea market. You're like there's gonna be a point where it's just like, "Okay, it's like you come to crossroads," you know? Maybe I'll, like, stay invested, maybe I'll just drop out. So now if you're, like, staying invested in, like, the flea market, it's like you don't get as much as you used to, which is, like, kind of a good thing. Like, I kinda like that, but at the same time, I don't like is that the power level gamers are just getting, like, even more powerful. Like, it just feels like their power spikes may increase because now you can't buy the good ammo to kill them. If I need you know, if I don't know, man. It's
Yeah.
like there's so many things going on. It's really hard to break down, but I feel like there's pros and cons to the system, and I'm glad. As I said before, I'm glad they're doing this because I think we're gonna see the pros and cons, and I think that you know traders. I personally would love to bring back dynamic traders. I know that was a thing at one point, and they got shut down. But I think it really just needed more time. Um, there's things you could do to account for individual actors trying to manipulate the market. Nonetheless, I just think static traders are really boring, and this goes in line with global resets. I think it would be really cool if traders were able to get a rough estimate of how much stock they needed and how much the market was willing to pay for based off. I mean, this is like not easy stuff. Let
Yeah.
me get that
Yeah.
straight. This is like some really, but this is straight up, what they're going for, this type of in-depth like, economic market. And I don't know, man. I say all that to say that I agree. I think for the most part I agree with his video. And I to me, this was like the biggest fault before the flea market was the game was so punishing that God, you starting out, it was like literally a survival game against other players, from my understanding, because
Mm.
you couldn't kill them, mostly because of like hitbox zones and different things, but also because they were freaking tanks, dude. They were literally unkillable. There was no Mosin sniper. I mean, you just like beg for your life. You can't even beg now, or back then, I should say. And so it's like I feel like we're kind of seeing the faults of like a trader only system. Because you don't unless you have like some tools for these players that I keep talking about all the goddamn time is have some tools like the double barrel shotgun. Give them something, a situational tool that can give them some chance. I just
Yeah.
don't think a pistol against a, slick exfil guy with an AK with 34 recoil, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like we need to, you know, do some more changes. Maybe not this swipe, but I hope that they're learning something.
I agree.
I think for me, man, what they should do is have the poor people give them unlimited chances to become middle class people. So give them like make their double barrel shotgun unlimited reset. It's great pricing. Maybe a baby Mosin, the really crappy Mosin. Maybe have that as well. Um, and just have unlimited scav runs, so they could just like no matter how bad you are, you could have the chance to do it right. And then for your middle class people, I guess like the same thought process, but just having allowing players to trade, but having it somehow introducing survival into the mix. So that way
Well,
it's more skill based.
this brings me back to what I would. So this brings me on to kind of like the way that I was thinking about how it should work, and we've actually talked about this before. This kind of loops back to something that we've previously talked about and talked about with members of the community too, which is that I actually agree with Sahans's video under the assumption that Tarkov is like a static, fixed entity that we're looking in from the outside on, and like Tarkov is what it is right now, frozen, boom, that's it. I think he's correct, right? And that's assuming that nothing can change actually within the game, which is sort of true-ish, because there's not anything we can do directly to to change it. But I actually honestly think that the find and raid barters thing that we've talked about previously actually does exactly what you just said, right? Which is it brings a survival element into the game again in order to get some of the higher tier stuff. I think it would be so good to get the highest tiers of things, the level sixes and all that stuff, that nobody gets just free access to those things. Because the way that the problem that I have at the moment is that the fleet is this, the top end stuff, that's gone. But some of the stuff is available for barter with the traders, but the barter items are available on fleet. So that means
Right.
that
It's effectively
those armors are available on the fleet
yeah,
so long as you have a certain trader rep and they're
exactly.
priced at whatever those things are for. You made an interesting point earlier about people like giving away the value of those trades to people who are like higher
Hmm.
level, but like those players don't have a choice because they can't even access the trade, and so
Exactly.
the marginal price of an item is a combination of all of the possible uses for it, and that also accounts for the percentage of the population of the player base that actually has access to that barter or not. And so when most of the player population doesn't have access to that barter, the barter hardly factors into the price. So those very small minority of people who actually do have access to it get it at an incredible price because most people can't price that in because they can't even do the barter themselves anyways. It's like how can they justify that price when almost no one has the barter? It's like it's a function of the number of people of the overall pool that have that barter, and those items go up over time. Those items
Yes,
do
they
go up
do.
over time as more people get there. But anyway, so the find and raid barter thing I think would be great. Like I don't actually mind. I kind of don't mind some of the like because like level 5 like class 5 armor isn't like top tier. It's not like hyper metas, but like as long as it's not like not killer, right? Like a lot of the others, they're not like super
Sure.
meta. Like ACPC like sort of is kind of, but really it's
Like
like
a
the slicks, the
redux.
hexes, yeah, like redux, whatever. Like those I kind of don't mind them being on. It's like you can get anything up to level 4, and like yeah, some of the others are locked behind some barters that are like lower ragman, but it's not really a big deal. If you want to get, I think I get an I think I can get an AVS now. I think there's like a Ragman barge for that now that I can go and get if I wanted to, and that's a Ragman 2, which isn't too bad. Um, I think yeah. So that one's the gold chains and like the TT. So like, you can get that at Ragman 2, but it's like behind a button. Yeah, you can just buy the stuff off the fleet, and that's fine. So maybe like Ragman 3 and 4, you get access to some of the better stuff, and you can do the regular barters for those. But then for the level 6s, you have to do the find and raid barters, and that means that you have to go and do those good things. And I feel like almost at every trader level, there should be kind of like a trader level like jump item. Maybe there's like an ammo that's really good for that. So it's better than anything else, or there's an armor that's better than anything else. At level 4, those jump things should be like the best items in the game. It should either be like the best suppressors in the game or the best armors in the game. And those
Right.
should all be find and raid barters, which we've talked about before, because it means that you need to survive. It means that top level players can't just buy them endlessly. It means they're not just freely available on the fleet. It means you have to go and find those items specifically. And I would love a system where they dynamically change those things around, and every now and then the stuff that you need for those changes as time goes on. It might even
Yeah.
be individual per player, and maybe it cycles every day or every week or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Something that's a bit more dynamic. But yeah, that means that then people need to get out. You can't just use the barters as just like it's just a flea market washing system.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's what it is now. That's why it's just like rubbish, right?
Right.
Because it's like, oh, it's the flea, but only for those people who are high enough level, and that's why it sucks. It's that gatingness that kind of sucks. So I think that would be a really, really good solution. And yeah, as you said, if it prioritizes survival, it means that people aren't able to just buy the same stuff all the time. I think it'd be really neat. I think it'd be really, really neat.
I think too, having it at maybe not level 1, but maybe like level 5, having these find and raid barters because I don't
Mm,
like I don't know. It's a tough thing to say. But I do feel like because you're basically adding a survival requirement. So if you have a low survival rate, then it's already going to be harder for you. So if you add
true.
also a level requirement, it's going to be even harder for you. So if you can kind of like y- take the best and kind of combine the two, because right now I feel like we're a little too far on the level gated side of things, in my opinion, anyways. Um, I don't know, but yeah, I think that'd be interesting. I think they should really look into it because I mean, I think the meta might shift a bit more. You might hoard even more items, and that would obviously affect the flea market because if people are hoarding items, not selling them, then people aren't buying them. But items aren't being sold for barters anymore; they're being sold for either crafts or maybe some barters. Like I don't know, I just don't like that how it ends up working out is like okay, this item's being sold on the flea market. Is there a barter for it? Yes. Okay, is the barter cheaper? Yes. Okay, do the barter. Like it's such a no, thought process
Yeah,
thing. I don't like
yeah.
that. I feel like that's a really big fault of the system. Like you remember back when you could do the cat statue for the suppressed AK and just poop out money, or the recording
Yeah.
battery for the 8R10, you could just poop out print money every reset. Oh, those were good times.
Ching every
Yeah.
reset, just like cat 8R ching. Right, there you go. Next one.
But I think one of the pros could be, say you have a gas analyzer and you need it to turn in for a quest, but you could turn it in for this barter, you know? Say you have a daily and it wants a gas analyzer, but you have this barter for this really good thing. Like it sort of adds more decision making where you have like multiple avenues. Like it's not just 19,000 rubles to the flea market or vendor. It's also you I can use it in the craft to make this. I can use it in a quest turn in to get XP. I can use it in a barter to get an item.
Mm.
Instead of it just being a rubles, it's basically how much is this item worth? Now it's like it's not how much this item is in rubles, it's like what can this item do for me, you know?
Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting one. There was another thing that I was just like mulling over, which kind of just like occurred to me, and like I reminded myself of, which was just like, what do the backgrounds of the items even mean? Which I ended up kind of like re-looking up just randomly around the internet, because it's like people are like, oh yeah, it seems like they kind of you have like the common backgrounds. They've got almost got there's like a sort of Fortnite rarity styles or whatever it was
Oh
called,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
RPG rarity system for the items, but it's not
Yeah.
really used that much. Like they've done it for some stuff, and there's like purple background for rare things, blue background for uncommon things, and like white background for common items, whatever. And I was almost like, I don't know, like mulling over that they actually like put that in place properly, like you go back and redo that correctly, because
Mhm.
it's not really done very well, I don't think. But like if they did that properly, then they could almost be like, okay, well here's your like tier 5 like finding raid barter whatever's, you need like 5 legendary items and like 4 of whatever else. So it's less, or maybe it's
Yeah.
like a lot, maybe it's like 15 of this and 10 of that or whatever. It's like you get to choose then. Maybe I don't know. There's another thing I was thinking. Like maybe you have those because you've got then the tiers. It's like, well, you can decide what you want to go and get. Maybe you don't need to go and get this specific thing and this specific thing that has to change. Maybe the trader's just like, look, I'll take whatever you have, but like you got to give me like 10 of them. It's like a lot. You got to give me a lot of them to make it worthwhile. In order to like get those like top tier items, and you have to really go and like, but you can farm for whatever you like, in whatever fashion you like. It doesn't need to be specifically graphics cards that spawn in interchange or whatever. It's like, you can kind of go and do whatever you prefer to do, as long as it's of high value. I'll accept it and give you the super item. That was
That's
something
a
that I was
interest
like,
yeah,
could be
that makes
cool.
it a little bit more. Yeah, because if you got in a situation, it's like I need one match, one cricket, one raven, one hunting match, one green battery, one
It's just a
survival
lot of
lighter.
items in the
But
game,
yeah,
man.
it's like, oh man, I got an unlucky roll today, and then some other guys got like, yeah, just get me 5 hunting matches or 5
Yeah.
classic matches. You're like, oh okay,
Yeah, and then that stops like the extreme hoarding as well, because like needing very
yeah,
specific items leads to people having to hoard like loads of stuff. Whereas this is like, oh,
right.
you just make sure you have enough of the certain categories or whatever. I
That's
don't
a
know.
that's an interesting concept. I like that. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, something I was just mulling over. But yeah, I do think like if everything stays the same way, I do think there's going to be this big gap. And just remember everybody, like as long as you can beat level 4, you can basically beat everybody. And I feel like at the stage that it is at the moment, it's kind of like when you run into somebody who's like mega geared, you just can be like, unlucky, roll again. It's just like
Right.
95% of people could be running level 4. So it's like when you don't, you bump into someone with level 6, you're just like, unlucky day. Okay, next
and
one, next round,
and
like
and
whatever. So
yeah, the crazy part too is it's like, yeah, M61, slick, all that stuff. It's just like, God, it didn't even matter what I was wearing. It's like I had no chance. You can't even have a. It just feels like you literally just got out leveled. This guy just he has better gear. He has more hours. It's just what. I mean, yeah, yeah, okay. I can get the one tap in his lower nape hitbox because apparently that's a hitbox. I died to that. And I was like, dude, what? That makes no
oh,
sense.
you
This
died to
guy's
lower nave?
yeah, he was facing
It's so
me.
rare.
I hate that, dude. It's like,
It's
oh,
so
this
rare,
feels like I
man.
got cheated, man.
Yeah,
He was like, how did he shoot the back of my head when he was facing me? Anyways,
that's the thing. That
um,
hitbox is busted.
but I was gonna say is I feel like there's a really huge importance in your hideout this wipe because you can get,
Mhm.
for all intents and purposes, each station level is basically a trader level because
And yeah.
it's gated by a trader level. So you have to be level, like if you want to do workbench level 2, you have to be level 20 and you have to have mechanic level 2. Doesn't matter how many rubles, doesn't matter how what parts if you have or don't have. That's like just what you have to have. So it's effectively a level two lock, but that gets you five five or sorry 5.6A1 ammo. Some other, I think it gives you the 9 mil class 3 ammo and whatnot. And I think even they added a new one for the it's a really bad craft, but
Oh, was
the
that the one for
45
ACP
AP.
AP? Oh
Yeah,
my
that
goodness. It
it's a
uses
real
AP 6.3 for 9 mil in the craft, which is
which you
like, okay,
can't
that's
get
kind
off
of an
the flea
expensive craft
market.
anyway.
You can't buy from the trader. They removed it from the trader a couple patches ago, which I didn't know about. So it's literally finding raider craft only. But like M61, dude, you get workbench level 3 and you get M61 craft. I mean, I'm sure it's expensive to craft because you're basically just buying the components to make it. But still though, it's like, oh my god, it's like, yeah, you basically you either you do the trade or you do the hideout, and I'm pretty sure the hideout would be faster because I think the trader one's locked behind a peacekeeper quest.
Well,
So
for M61, absolutely. Like I was crafting the M61 in the end of last wipe, and I never bothered finishing the one for Peacekeeper because it's part of his like psycho shooter stupid series,
yeah,
and I never got to
yeah,
Sniper 5, and I was adamant that I was going to do that, and I just never did it. So I just ended up crafting the stuff. But I like, look, it's expensive, yeah, don't get me wrong, but like there's some crazy stuff in there. Like 762 VP still in there, right? I
I would
don't remember that
imagine.
disappearing.
I
Yeah,
think it's
so
a level 3 craft, is
and it
it?
was like, went from 200 to 180, and like the craft price was increased, but even still, like it's, it's a rock solid round. It's probably
Yeah,
now, why even use M61? Just use BP.
that's
Like
the
M61 doesn't
thing.
one tap thorax, so
Right.
just use BP. Like VP is just gonna VP
But
deals handily with level 5, so everyone's gonna die.
there's like this is such a weird relationship because I feel like the Giga Chad, he doesn't want M61 because the he might maybe like 10% of the time he runs against another Giga Chad where he would want M61. So it just doesn't make
Yeah.
sense for him to do that. So he's fine running like BT off his
Hmm.
AK or whatever fast forward pincher. But the level, the low level guy, he really wants M61. Or I guess everyone else wants M61 because when they come across the Giga Chad, they want to feel like they have a fighting advantage. But at the same time, they don't want it because every other time they're not going like it's such a
Yeah.
weird relationship.
But
And then
this is the
it's
thing. This is what makes the high tier armor like so powerful because no one is expecting it, no one is ready for it, and when you turn up with it, no one can kill you
yeah,
because no one's running that stuff. And like maybe it'll change later when more people, because more people will get access to this stuff as they go through the higher tier
mhm,
traders, right? Once the levels are there. But like right now, if you're running like level 5 or 6, you're kind of unkillable. Like so many people can't even pen level 4 at the moment. But like that's the thing that I'm focused on. I'm like looking at the ballistics chart and I'm like sorting it by pen, and I'm like starting at 37 and going, M80, 366 AP, just like looking through. I'm just like, oh, FMJ, you're in the sweet spot. I love you. Come on. And there's 20 round mags for the MP7. So I have to wait for, mechanic like 2 or 3 or something till I actually get something good for it. But yeah, I don't know. Like, look, it's weird. It's in a weird spot. I'm not sure. There was a comment in chat that I did want to actually
yeah,
talk about very
go
quickly,
for it.
which was about every time I see anybody complain about the new system, about anything to do with it, and everyone just goes, "Oh, leg meta, bro," and it's like. Basically, the chat comment was like, "This means that leg meta will be even more prevalent," which I agree with. But I've seen this comment a lot in other places. I'm not saying that anyone in chat's doing that, but like a lot of other places where people are just being like, "Oh, just be better," like, "Oh, just position better," like, "Oh, just use leg meta," like, "It's fine." But it's like, yes, leg meta is still going to be prevalent. Like, yes, it's very, very good. And it's much better in this patch than it has been in others because of the changes towards the end of last wipe that they put in place. But, like, I kind of feel that, like, it's maybe a bit of an overused term. It's like, that's fine. But, like, you don't necessarily want new players to, like, only be able to use leg meta as it. It's all they can do. All they can do is leg meta. Like, I don't know, it just
Yeah.
feels kind of boring. I don't know. It's like, it should be a thing that can be used from time to time, but it feels like it's almost sometimes the only viable solution. And it's like, well, it only really works close up ish. They can't be stood behind a box. Like, yeah, you have to use positioning and blah blah blah. But that's the same for like any fight in the game. You know, it's not exclusive to leg meta. It's not just because you're using rip rounds. Now you suddenly have to be, you know, Tom Clancy's, you know, whatever. It's
Yeah, well, that's
I
the
don't-
thing. It's like they can't even get access to rip rounds unless you
well,
craft
yeah.
it.
You have to just go like shotguns. This is the thing. You have to like rather than it being
But
like or you have to use like I don't know Luger or whatever. But a lot of them I don't know. And it's just tricky. I think like people bandy about the leg meta thing just a little bit too much as like a solution. And like yes, it is a solution, but it shouldn't be like the only solution. It shouldn't like you
it's
shouldn't just have the entire gameplay you know distilled down to like magnum bucking somebody from 2 meters away, right? It's just like I don't feel that's necessarily good.
it's like, yeah, bro, just go for my only weak spot, the legs, which is like, you know what I mean? It's kind of a weird thing because your only weak spot's your legs. Equally so, everyone's weak spot's their legs, but except for you because you have good ammo that can go through their armor. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
it's such a weird thing for someone to say. I don't know. I'm I'm also kind of critical of that same
Mm.
thing. I don't know. They have such a maybe once they do armor hit zones, it will be less of an issue. But maybe we'll have a new issue where, as you said before,
Everyone dies instantly.
ammo just doesn't matter. Just shoot them, lol. Just hold mouse one, they'll die eventually, lol. You'll catch them in their pixel. I'm gonna die to like left lower armpit. It's gonna be the new hitbox. I'm like stupid. Instead of head eyes, it's stupid armpit.
Yeah, it's gonna be like Palaver 2U slugs or whatever, like through the armpit every time. Like, God
Yeah,
damn it. Ridiculous. There was I know we've gone on for quite a while, so
yeah,
there was
yeah.
one other thing I wanted to touch on, which I reminded myself when looking at the notes, and we're talking about rounds and stuff anyway. Have you had any sort of time to check out the new 545 round? Which is only found in raid right now. There's no barters, there's no
Oh, I
crafts,
have
there's no nothing. The
briefly.
7N40 round for 545 AKs. I
Mhm,
have a stack of it in my hideout, which I found. It's like
mhm.
I think I have like 40 or something. This round is insane. This
Mm.
round is insane, dude. This round is absolutely insane. 52 damage, 44 pen. So it has one less pen than 55A1. 50 armor damage, but it has plus 50% accuracy and minus 20% recoil.
Yeah, it seems really good stat-wise.
Yeah, it's like it looks nuts. It actually looks really nuts. Now there was an interesting video that I watched about this, and there was a big like comments battle underneath the video as to what the recoil number means. And I actually am not 100% certain. I can make some guesses as to what the recoil number means, and people
Mhm.
seem to disagree about what minus 20 on the round actually means functionally. So if you get your AK down to, let's say, 40 recoil, some people seem to think that it makes your AK 20 recoil. I can see why you might think that. I don't
Sure.
think that's the case
I don't think so
personally.
either.
I don't think that's the case, but I also am willing to be wrong because I'm actually not certain either. But if you get like the way that I think this works is that if you get like an AK-74N, let me just like pull up the stock preset. The way that I would imagine this works is like any other attachment. I think in that if you just press new preset and you find out what the base recoil is, which is 140 for an AK-74N, and then you take 20% of that, that would be 28 recoil, which is actually a lot. It is actually a lot. So it's actually even more than you might think. But I think that's the way it works. But I'm not sure because for bullets, I don't know whether maybe rounds are special and maybe rounds like the weapon itself and all the multiplicative additive rubbish, all that happens first, and then that gets sealed in a box, and then the ammo then comes along and applies later. So then if you only have like a 40 recoil weapon, then
Yeah.
does that 20% apply there? And that's only 8 recoil difference.
Yeah.
That seems more.
That's
That
what
seems
I
more
suspect.
feasible. That seems more feasible, but I haven't tested it. I haven't tested it, and it's very difficult to like know what that means in terms of the recoil change. It's very hard to know. I think you'd probably know if it was 28 because
We'll
the
see.
recoil would be almost
Right.
0. But I'm not sure. I need to have a look at it. I need to have a look at it. As I said, I have a stack of it. I haven't spent too much time doing it. It was only because I saw somebody else talk about it, and I was like, nobody in the comments seemed to really know which way it was. And I was also like, I think I know, but I'm also kind of not sure either. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure. And I spent a long time looking at all the various mechanics of this kind of stuff. Not to the same extent as someone like V, obviously. But you know, I haven't seen him talk about it. I'd be interested to hear what he actually had to say. Like if I could speak to him about it, then it'd be interesting to see what he thought because he's spent even more time than me looking at it. But you know, I feel like I'm fairly well versed on this kind of stuff, and I'm not entirely sure exactly what's happening. Just like without having to go and look. So yeah, I don't know. It's intriguing. Seems really good either way.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that round's going to be meta. But I mean, the nice thing is, in my opinion, anyways, it's find and raid only. You can't craft it. You can't buy it from the trader. You know, maybe you can get off some Scav Boss Raider or hit ammo cases. And yeah, it's a large loot pool, but I mean, it kind of makes sense. You know, it's in my mind, it's like an S tier ammo. Maybe not the only S tier ammo, but I think it's S tier worthy. And
I think so.
So that means you're only going to get it. You can't run 5 60 rounders full of S tier ammo. You could maybe top load a few rounds. So I think I like that. I like how that kind of plays out. And I think more of that should be applied. But what I was going to say is one of my first videos into like editing and YouTubing was ammo stats are a lie. And I don't recommend anyone listening watches it. I won't subjugate you to that, but because it was a really bad video in my opinion, as it should be for my first one, and horrible audio quality. But from my testing, I concluded that. So I did US ammo, which US ammo for the 545 AKs, I think I did it for the 545 AKs, has a positive 25% recoil increase. Sorry, I worded that wrong. 25% less recoil. Some ammos have a 25% increase and more, giving you more recoil. And what I did was I took a gun and I said, okay, here's the stats. It's at, 60 vertical, whatever. So reducing its recoil by 20% at 60 would be, I don't know, what is that, 48 recoil? So let me build a gun that has 48 recoil. So I shot them. I had a side-by-side comparison, and there's visually no difference. Now it wasn't 60 and 48. It was something like 100 and 118, like whatever it was. Because obviously I wanted to be higher recoil so you could see the change, but there was like no difference. So I was like, okay, that's definitely not working. Let me go try the I think I did a Golnick because that had like 15% additive recoil. I'm like, maybe the recoil reduction isn't working, maybe additive is working. Couldn't see a difference. Tried M62 or M61, couldn't see a difference. Now, the Val ammos, I'm pretty sure those work. I think some work, some don't work. I don't know. It's such a weird thing. I wish they would make it work, because then at the very minimum, US ammo would not be a complete scam. Because when I was playing the game, I was like, dude, this gives me recoil reduction. This AK is so hard to control. I would love to use this. Not only is it garbage ammo, like muzzle velocity and pin wise, it doesn't do the thing it says it's supposed to do, reduce my recoil. So big bummer about that.
I've definitely seen some threads about that. Actually, people saying like, "Oh, I really wish that the US ammo did function." I was aware of that it didn't work for 7.62, because a lot of people have said like it would actually be fantastic early wipe to get minus 30% recoil reduction on your AKs. You'd make them really runnable. You could use them.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's got like it's 29 pen rather than 32 pen. Like it's maybe as good as PS. It's close.
Yeah,
it's not that far. It's not that far off. So I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I need to do some tests. I need to have a look at it. I need to actually like seriously have a think about exactly what's going on here, because it's interesting, and it might make a difference. It'd be interesting. I do think that things like Magnum Buck work. I don't. It's like some stuff seems to work, some stuff seems to work.
Yep, I agree.
Maybe that's just obvious because it's plus 115%, I mean,
That's
it's
true
like
too.
the most obvious one in the
That's
whole
true too.
game, but yeah, I don't know. Need to have a think about it because it could make a difference. But yeah, I just thought I sort of wish that there was a way to farm the ammo in not a stupid way, but in a way that's not just like, oh, it just comes in stashes RNG wise, and like I was looking for bolts and I ended up with like some random S tier ammo. I got like 20. It's kind of I wish almost it was like maybe they only spawn in Kibber or something. I don't know, like I always feel like there should be like more sensible places for some of these things to appear. And it's like maybe you don't know which one you're gonna get, but you're gonna get like a selection of like good rounds and like the weapons shops. Like maybe that is the way it works as well at the moment. I just feel like it's random. I feel like you're more likely to get it just like randomly playing and like looking in stashes than you are going to a place and doing stuff. But there's downsides to that too. So you don't want people just to farm it endlessly.
Yeah, exactly. I got one more topic if you're down, if you're game.
One more, and then we
Okay.
finish. One more.
What do you make of the new key system? How they've restricted, sorry, not restricted, but they have durability. All keys have 100 durability.
I don't think it makes any difference really at all. Do you think it
Okay.
matters? I think the important keys had durability anyway, and I
Yeah,
think
I
all the other
mean,
ones. I don't think it makes any difference really.
I'm not totally too sure, and I mean, I initially I 100% agreed with you, but I felt like a lot of keys were selling a lot more on the flea market, and that
Hmm,
could just be a product of early wipe. I think that's just a
maybe.
product of early wipe.
Maybe. I
Yeah,
was
I'm
just trying
looking
to
at the
think of a
chart.
situation. Yeah, I was just trying to think of a situation where like where it matters 100 like
Right.
dorms keys like how many but like running dorms 100
100
times is a
times, that's a
lot.
long,
It's a
and by the
lot of
time,
raids.
let's say you survive 10 out of those 100, you definitely pay for the key. I mean, I
Yeah.
would imagine, like, I think I agree. I feel like they were, like, overtly too safe with 100 durability. I feel like 50 being bold, 25 probably is, like, a better place.
Hmm.
But,
Yeah, 25 makes you at least think like, oh, I only have so many times to use it, but 25 is still quite a lot.
yeah, this my I feel like the key system is just kind of boring because it's essentially just a ruble thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I would like to see, without doing drastic changes, I don't know what else they could do, but I would like to see the key system be changed. I mean, just as a quick, you know, one-off to you, it like, let's just hypothetically say red card had 100% spawn rate on customs, whatever, and it was, let's say it was literally a hard spawn, like, it was, like, in dorms on the 3rd floor on a shelf, okay? Let's also just say you can't put in your secret container. To me, it's just
Hmm.
like you could now it's like you could go get the key, but you have to make it out. So you could kill the guy to get the key, and now you gotta make it out. You know what I mean? It's sort of like this thing that it's like this really valuable thing that could like exchange hands. And then it's like you go to use it and you die, and then the guy gets the red key card. Now he uses it and it dies. You know what I mean? It's just like it kind of like exchanges hands, but you feel like you're getting, something really valuable. Like, oh man, this guy had a red key card. I can now use. But
Yeah.
I kind of feel like the key system has a bit of a flaw to that because it's like once you once you had the key in the old system, you never have to worry about it. Now you have to worry about it, but only after 100 uses, so you just go buy another one. It's a
Mm.
kind of little too. I don't know. That
It's like
part
it
kind of
still
bugs
doesn't
me.
mean anything. It's like yeah, it's still meaningless. It's like
Right.
something else, but it's not. There's no meaning there. So
Like
yeah, I don't know.
I think it's an improvement, but it's like marginally if I'm being really
Yeah,
critical.
exactly. It's like implementing a new quest system that allows you to do things in the future, but you haven't implemented anything yet. That's kind of how it feels to me. It's kind of like we've added this thing. It doesn't affect gameplay at the moment, but it allows us to then pull a different lever if we so wish.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I get
Something
that.
along those lines. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, there was actually one thing, the
Yeah.
one final thing that I should have mentioned right near the beginning, which I completely forgot to mention, which is almost, well, it's a shame, but I guess for those people who are dedicated enough to make it right to the end of the 2 hour Christmas edition of ScavTalk, then this can be a little sweetener for you guys who are dedicated. So BSG are doing their winter drops event and what was it, like New Year's and all this kind of stuff, whatever. And yeah, I was just like browsing through who's getting drops, whatever. Apparently, one of those people is me.
Oh, nice.
I was not aware of this until I was randomly browsing through to see who was on what day. So I have drops on the 6th of January. So that's
Cool,
a very
dude.
nice surprise.
That's awesome, man.
And currently, the one on the website links to the wrong Twitch stream.
Oh no, that's not nice.
Which I have messaged them about. But I was like, okay, this is already cursed. But now, okay, so like, yeah, it's a Thursday. It's like a random Thursday. So I now have to. So I'm like, like I definitely don't want to be like,
yeah.
Look, this is an amazing thing, right? This is an absolutely amazing thing. I'm super pleased about it. Like, I'm really happy about it. But obviously, then there comes another element to it, which is like me looking forwards 2 weeks, going, okay, how am I going to rearrange my life
right
around this thing that I've been given? It's like being given like, a holiday to Hawaii for like 24 hours. You get flown out in a private jet, whatever, and they're like, it's happening next Tuesday.
Yeah,
and you're like, all right, that's awesome and all, but I was doing something then,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's it. So like, I just got to like figure it out. Like, I'm definitely going to make the most of it. So we'll see.
Good for you, man.
But it's fun. I should have mentioned it right at the beginning, but I actually just forgot. Partly because I've kind of been taken by surprise by it, and partly because it doesn't really feel real. It's very surreal, actually. It's very surreal. Partly because I was not expecting it at all. Because I don't stream a great deal. Right? I don't do a great deal of streaming. But yeah, it's I'm super pleased, super happy about it, and I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful for them. So yeah, if anyone's around on the 6th, and like whatever I end up doing, I'll probably be live.
2-hour drop stream. Let's go. No,
yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see what happens.
That's awesome,
so, yeah,
dude.
That's that.
Dude, just pull up mini beef. Just have a mini beef cam, 24-hour
mini
stream.
Beef cam. Oh man,
farm all those.
farm the engagement.
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Actually, there was oh no, it's fine. We'll talk about it next time. It's all good.
Cool.
I don't want to drag it on any longer.
Yeah, we should wrap it up. Another long one. Of course, there's just so much to cover, so much to talk about. Lots of fun topics as always. So yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. We're gonna wrap it up here, and we'll see you guys next week.
Catch you later.